Chapter 1057. Infant Yu roughly explained her encounter in the Divine Hall to Jian-Chen. So Jian-Chen gained an understanding as well. He felt happy for Yu's fortuitous encounter. Yu is only a Heaven Saint Master now, but there were extremely few people who could become Heaven Saint Masters at her age, even with the entire Tianyuan continent in perspective. Yu's cultivation talent had also undergone an overwhelming change, so her speed at cultivation greatly increased. Many of the experts from ancient and hermit clans, who stayed behind, went up to the two of them to congratulate them. They smiled amicably, and congratulations constantly rang out. Their attempts to get on Jian-Chen's good side were obvious, and even two experts from protector clans had gone up to congratulate them, wanting to pull Jian-Chen to their side vaguely enough. Although the 10 protector clans were envious of the winged tiger god that followed Jian-Chen and wanted to take it for themselves, Jian-Chen was no longer the weakling from before. He was strong enough where even they themselves needed to be wary and powerful enough where they dared not provoke him easily. The winged tiger god following Jian-Chen had already become a matter set in stone, so they obviously had no wish of lingering on Jian-Chen's bad side. Jian-Chen was rather mannerly. He would thank the people who came up to congratulate him politely regardless of actually being acquaintances. Yu, on the other hand, was once a princess, so she behaved in a very refined manner as well. She thanked them with a faint smile. Now that the Bright Moon Divine Hall had a master, the disruptions caused by the Divine Hall finally came to an end. All the experts gathered in outer space dispersed with mixed emotions. Tianjian spoke a few words to Jian-Chen out of courtesy, before leaving immediately. Soon after that, only Jian-Chen's group remained in the same place. "Yuer, let's go back first," Jian-Chen said to Yu, before extending his hand around Yu's thin waist. The white tiger and Xia Wang had already entered the artifact space to heal. Yu did not stop Jian-Chen. She smiled happily as she was embraced around the waist, leaning gently on Jian-Chen's shoulder. The Divine Hall had already disappeared silently into her hand. Jian-Chen left outer space with Yu and Ruijin, returning to the Tianyuan continent. They directly descended to the air above Fragrance River. Although over a month had passed since the Divine Hall had appeared, its effects still lingered on all the people. Many people had stayed by the river, and some people had even set up tents on the two riverbanks. They stared at the sky days on end, wanting to know who the Divine Hall ended up with in the end. Jian-Chen did not tarry when he returned to the City of God. He found Quan Yukai and Yang Ling, bidding farewell after just a short conversation. He left with Yang Ling. Hong Lian and He Yu remained in the artifact space to recover their strength, so only Ruijin accompanied them on the way back. He ripped open a space gate, going back to the Changyang clan in Lore City. Tsar Vamos stood on the roof of the Tsar family estate, staring deeply in the direction where Jian-Chen had disappeared off to. Kara Lot of the Kara clan and Kazda Jinxiong of the Kazda clan have both lost all their strength. They're extremely weak, and without the two of them, the Kara clan and Kazda clan are extremely fragile. How good of an opportunity, too bad Kaiyun. Sigh, I sure do regret the past, I sure do regret the past. Tsar Vamos was filled with regret. Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu currently sat on a huge rock on the mountain of the distant Three Saint Island. They faced the vast ocean where the sea blended with the sky, quietly playing their zither. Their abilities at the zither were nowhere near the heavenly enchantress, but they possessed an extremely great achievement nonetheless. Not only were their zither tunes graceful and able to calm people, they also possessed a natural beauty. A white-robed woman sat behind the two of them. She was the young lady of the Tianqin clan Qin Qin. She was not playing the zither. Instead, she sat on the cliff with her eyes closed, carefully listening to the music played by Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu. Her zither, modeled from the zither of the demonic cry, was placed firmly on her legs. Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu finally stopped playing a long while later. They slowly put their zither away and stood up, calmly staring at Qin Qin. A while later, Xiao Yu said, "Junior Qin Qin, have you sensed the existence of the heavenly melody?" Qin Qin slowly opened her eyes, and a sliver of confusion flashed through. She shook her head. "Seniors, I've heard you mention this heavenly melody many times, but just what is it?" We can't explain it clearly either, because it was what our master told us back then. All we know is that it's a feeling. It's an odd feeling, a feeling of tone. Only by sensing the heavenly melody can you be considered to have grasped the basics of the way of the zither, said Xiao Yu as reminiscence appeared in her eyes. Looks like our comprehension of the way of the zither is not enough. We don't have the power to let Junior sense the heavenly melody just by ourselves. Maybe it'll only work if Master personally plays. It's a pity that Master's been in seclusion for many years already. I wonder when she'll come out, Xiao Qian said rather regretfully. Suddenly, Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu's eyes froze. They suddenly turned their heads to look into the distance, where the sky and sea joined as one. A streak of violet light rapidly enlarged, approaching Three Saint Island at an unbelievable speed. It was still at the horizon, yet it had arrived on the island a second later. It was only 10 meters away from Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu now. Its speed was shocking. Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu grew solemn. They immediately became cautious when such a great expert suddenly visited the island. But they saw who the violet figure was very soon. They stared blankly as they became extremely shocked, calling out in unison, "Master!" The violet figure was the mistress of the island, the heavenly enchantress. In violet robes, the heavenly enchantress stood honorably and coldly. She stood with her back from Xiao Qian, and Xiao Yu as her black hair fell naturally from her shoulders like a fountain. "Master, it's you. Weren't you in seclusion? Why have you suddenly appeared outside?" Xiao Qian was filled with shock. She had never sensed the heavenly enchantress leave in the past few years, always believing that she remained in seclusion. "In my seclusion, I just happened to go out for a journey. I've only just returned." "Xiao Qian, Xiao Yu, has anything happened on Three Saint Island during these recent years?" The heavenly enchantress ignored the question and replied icily. Her voice was emotionless. Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu immediately understood the heavenly enchantress' explanation. Xiao Yu replied, "Master, all because of you, Three Saint Island has remained as peaceful as before. Nothing big has happened." Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu walked toward the heavenly enchantress happily as they spoke. Although they were disciples of the heavenly enchantress on the surface, they were actually more like sisters. When Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu arrived by her side, they discovered that she was currently carrying an infant wrapped in a cotton cloth. They immediately became astonished. Master, whose child is this?" Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu said together. They immediately leaned over, curiously staring at the infant. A sliver of mixed emotions appeared in the heavenly enchantress' eyes. She lowered her head to look at the sleeping infant and said, "There was war in a small kingdom on the continent. The child was lying among mountains of corpses and pools of blood. His parents both passed away, so I took pity on him and brought him back." Chapter 1058. Xiaobao. "Oh master, this child is so pitiful. He's lost his parents soon after being born. That's just too pitiful." The kind Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu immediately became deeply sympathetic when they learned about the miserable life of the infant. Their gazes toward the child also underwent changes, becoming filled with love. "Master, let's let this pitiful child live on Three Saint Island in the future." Xiao Qian touched the child's cheek with a jade-like finger as she pleaded. "Yeah, master. Let's just let the child stay with us on Three Saint Mountain. The mountain's this big, and there's only the four of us. An additional person would bring an additional portion of liveliness." Xiao Yu also insisted. She liked the chubby, white infant in the heavenly enchantress' arms very much, and felt even more sympathetic. The heavenly enchantress had already removed her veil, revealing her supreme beauty. She looked at the infant with mixed emotions and gently sighed. "All right then. Since you all like this child so much, let's let him live on Three Saint Island." "Yes, fantastic. There'll be one extra person on Three Saint Mountain in the future." Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu immediately cried out. They were like little girls as they behaved in such a lively manner. "Master, the child still doesn't have a name. Why not give him a name?" Xiao Yu suggested. "Oh my, let me do that then. I'm best at giving names to children." Xiao Qian excitedly took up the right to name the child. After some thought she said, "Master, looking at how cute the child is, why not call him Xiaobao?" "Xiaobao? That name sounds pretty good. It sounds quite cute." Xiao Yu said after some thought as well. The heavenly enchantress hesitated slightly before faintly nodding in the end. All right then. This child will be called Xiao Bao in the future. Master, leave Xiao Bao to the two of us. We will be responsible for looking after him in the future. Xiao Yu giggled, before extending her hands to carry Xiao Bao. No need. The heavenly enchantress appeared silently 10 meters away, gradually moving further away with Xiao Bao. She said, I'll look after Xiao Bao. Xiao Qian, Xiao Yu. Immediately go down the mountain to find some high-quality milk. You two will be responsible for Xiao Bao's food in the future. Yes, master. Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu replied in unison, though they seemed to be dejected. Qin, you should rest for a few days. I will play the zither for you in 3 days, so that you can comprehend the heavenly melody. The heavenly enchantress softly said, before completely disappearing. The heavenly enchantress sat dazed on a big rock within a secret room with Xiao Bao in her arms. Her expression was extremely complicated with some distress mixed in. Xiao Bao seemed to sense the heavenly enchantress' distress, and began to make sounds. He stared at the heavenly enchantress with his large, pure eyes out of curiosity, as he unconsciously moved his arm. The heavenly enchantress looked at Xiao Bao and secretly sighed inside. She said, I was pregnant for 10 whole years to give birth to Xiao Bao. Meanwhile, my strength has skyrocketed at an unbelievable rate during my pregnancy, reaching the current level with the addition of the dragon's saliva. Xiao Bao, are you my blessing or curse? From then on, one more person joined Three Saint Island. That person was a male infant Xiao Bao. The Changyang clan in Lore City was currently in joy. Jian Chen's return immediately caused it to become bustling. In the present day, Jian Chen's status in the clan was unrivaled. He was the glory of the clan, the pride of the clan. He earned the respect of everyone. All of the elderly members of the clan immediately went up to personally receive him when he returned. Their gazes toward him were filled with deep pride and admiration. These older members were all part of the upper echelon. Although they were not powerful, mostly Earth Saint Masters, they were Jian Chen's great-grandfathers if seniority was considered. In a corner of the clan, Jian Chen's second brother, Changyang Ku, watched on with mixed emotions as everyone seemed to parade into the conference hall with Jian Chen. He was strewn between emotions, and could not help but think back to every single moment he had been in contact with Jian Chen when he was young. He could still clearly remember that his youngest brother's status was nowhere near his, when he was labeled as a cripple who could not use Saint Force. Yet now, the cripple had become a powerful figure that could shake up the continent with a twitch of his feet. On the other hand, even after expending a large quantity of the clan's monster cores, Changyang Ku was still stuck at Great Saint Master. He had not even reached Earth Saint Master. Big brothers become a disciple of the Pure Heart Pavilion of the 10 Protector clans, while sisters become the saintess of some unknown ice god hall. Youngest brothers has become a shocking expert of the continent. He's now a Saint King. Now there's only me, Changyang Ku, without any proud achievements. I haven't even reached Earth Saint Master. Am I useless? Changyang Ku laughed at himself, and became rather dejected. Of the 4 sons and daughters of the current patriarch, Changyang Ba, 3 of them had already become famed figures. There was only him who remained relatively unknown even today, which greatly affected him. Jian Chen casually conversed with the seniors of his clan, before returning to his own room. Due to Jian Chen's unique status, he also received special treatment from the clan. His luxurious, palace-like residence from before had been rebuilt once more. Not only was it larger, it was even more grand and majestic. It could rival the royal palaces of kings. Jian Chen's palace-like residence had already become the symbol of the Changyang clan. It took up an entire third of the estate. The great tower created by Changyang Zuyinshao and Changyang Zuyin had been demolished long ago. Jian Chen felt rather helpless knowing the clan rebuilt his residence. He really did not have any demand for the reconstruction of his residence. He had even learned from his mother that the reconstruction was actually suggested by the ancestor of the clan, Changyang Zuyinkong. He had even obtained the agreement of everyone, including Changyang Zuyinshao and Changyang Zuyiyun. On that night, Jian Chen gathered in the residence with Little Fatty, Wang Yifeng Sr. and Yin Zheng, Yongling, and the others. They drank together and talked about everything. Laughter echoed out constantly. Jianchen, I've already made up my mind. Once you leave the Changyang clan, Wang Yifeng Sr. and Yunzheng, and I will go out to train. We'll roam the Tianyuan continent properly. Locking ourselves up and cultivating every day is like shutting ourselves from the world. It's not very helpful at all, Little Fatty drunkenly said. His resolute face had already become bright red from drinking. Jianchen secretly nodded to that. Although Little Fatty's talent was impressive, his age was still a thing after all. He lacked legitimate experience, so roaming the Tianyuan continent would indeed be extremely beneficial to him. Dugafeng's currently at Mercenary City, taking up the position as disciplinary elder. He's responsible for punishing the mercenaries that have done wrong. Ever since sister-in-law Yu's left with you, the management of Flame City has all fallen to Bai Lian. She's been managing the city in an orderly manner, and has also raised many members of the upper echelon for management as well. Currently, the city is growing with each coming day. Together with your name, Jianchen, many saint rulers have already been drawn over. Your great-grandfather Bai Hai's also gone with your sister Bai Lian to the city, protecting her as he watches over her cultivation. At the table, Jianchen gained some understanding of Flame City's situation from his dear friends. He both loved and felt pity for his sister Bai Lian. He knew it had been difficult for her over the years. She must have spent quite the effort for Flame City. Chapter 1059. Disturbance at Flame City. Deep into the night, Jianchen's lively residence finally quietened down. Little Fatty and everyone else left, and they returned to their own residences to rest. Only Jianchen remained, with a few female servants who were cleaning up the table. Jianchen walked outside before he gently leaped onto the roof. He laid down and stared at the pitch-black sky. His deep eyes seemed to pierce the space, as he looked at the silver-white bright moon divine hall in the distant outer space. Yu was not at the Changyang clan. Soon after she returned with him, she entered the divine hall. Then she went to outer space to absorb the essence of the moon to cultivate. After she accepted Fairy Hao Yu as her master, Yu became extremely enthusiastic toward cultivation. She worked even harder and even more arduously. She only wanted to increase her strength as much as possible, so she could do some things for Jianchen and share his burden. Jianchen laid on the roof and zoned out. As he stared at the night sky, he became slightly confused as he murmured, "Why did Fairy Hao Yu take Yu as a disciple? Yu's talent is good, but that's only with a small kingdom like Jessen in perspective. It's nothing if you look at the entire continent. There are countless prodigious females on the continent, and their talent is far greater than Yu's. So, why didn't Fairy Hao Yu take someone else?" In that moment of peace, Jianchen began to think of many things. He felt most suspicious about Fairy Hao Yu accepting Yu as her disciple. "I don't think this is as simple as it seems. Fairy Hao Yu probably has some other intentions," murmured Jianchen as he pondered. Suddenly Jianchen's gaze froze. He immediately stopped talking to himself, as he saw a black figure leap up to the roof. The figure produced gentle sounds as they stepped on the tiles, slowly making their way toward Jianchen. Jianchen did not get up, lying on the roof as before. He cushioned his head with his arms, as he continued to stare at the night sky. The black figure arrived beside him. Then they laid down just like Jianchen. His movements caused the tiles to creak. He said, "Brother, it's so late. Why haven't you gone to sleep?" Jianchen turned around and looked at the figure. He smiled. "Brother, doesn't that apply to you as well? And to me, sleeping nowadays is basically wasting time." "Sai, you're right. You've already become a Saint King now. You're a peak-level expert, even with the whole continent in perspective. You indeed don't need sleep to recover at your level of strength." Changyang sighed gently. A faint sorrow filled his face. "Brother, have you been well these days?" Jianchen asked. Although Changyang had once gone against him in everything he did, that happened when they were young. Jianchen stopped bothering about it long ago, treating it as the arguments between kids. "Sai, you big brother and sister have all become great famed people, either a supreme expert or a prodigy peak-level sex heavily favor. Only I remain unknown, a nobody. I'm still stuck at being a great saint master even until now. and I don't even know when I can reach Earth, Saint Master. Do you think I've been well these years? Chang Yangke sighed. He was gloomy. Jianchen remained silent. It was true that Chang Yangke's talent was not really extraordinary. Even with the support of a great clan, he remained at Great Saint Master, and improved at a rather slow rate. Chang Yangke suddenly sat up, and wishfully looked at Jianchen. He said, "Brother, you're already a supreme figure of the continent now. I know you have extremely great abilities, so can you help me? I don't want to lie in waste anymore. I don't want to become an embarrassment to big brother, sister and you," pleaded Chang Yangke. It was very courageous of him to say such things. Jianchen slowly sat up. "Brother, I still have some heavenly resources on me. When I go to Flame City tomorrow morning, I'll get the alchemist there to refine the resources into pills. It can modify your constitution. However, hard work is what truly determines your accomplishments, even though these items can improve your constitution." "Brother, thank you. I will definitely work hard on cultivation in the future." Emotions began to overwhelm Chang Yangke. He seemed to see a sliver of light in the darkness before him, and hope for the future. On the next day, Jianchen left Yongling at the clan, before going to Flame City with Ruijin. Flame City was even busier than before. Mercenaries flowed unendingly in and out of the city gates, along with many merchants who had come to hire them. The Flame mercenaries had experienced a huge setback and almost collapsed, but Jianchen was just too famous. Coupled with his position as captain, the mercenaries regrouped at an astonishing rate. Not only did they recover their peak strength in less than a month, but they also became even stronger than before. There were even several saint rulers who came to join them. The Flame mercenaries had already exceeded many hermit clans in strength now. They were no weaker than ancient clans with Jianchen in consideration, as he had killed saint kings before. They became one of the few great mercenary groups, and their name shook the continent. The banners of the mercenaries had almost become a life-saving charm. Wherever the banners passed by, no one dared to behave in an offensive manner. This included bandits and the people from a few large clans. They all would give way on their one accord in a courteous fashion. As a result, all the escorting missions that people of the Flame mercenaries undertook proceeded smoothly. Blood would only be drawn when they came across a few ignorant magical beasts. More and more merchants became willing to recruit the Flame mercenaries as a result. Jianchen levitated 1,000 meters in the air, as he stared down at the bustling city with a joyous smile. However, his eyes suddenly froze when he swept past the very center of the city, and his complexion became rather horrible. A 300-meter-tall stone statue stood there. It gazed into the distance like a ruler, lording over the world in an impressive manner. It was a sculpture of Jianchen that was carved in a lifelike fashion. It seemed just like a real person. With a darkened complexion, Jianchen ran through the air and arrived above the stone statue with just a few flashes. He directly struck it with his palm, and the entire statue shattered with a violent boom. It drifted down in the form of dust. He had personally destroyed a statue of himself. The statue was irreplaceable in the city. This was because it depicted a legend, an epic of the continent. At the same time, it depicted a supreme saint king, who was the spiritual leader of the Flame mercenaries. It was Jianchen. The destruction of the statue immediately raised the attention of the people nearby. All of them began to seethe as soon as they witnessed the destruction of the statue of the captain they admired and worshipped the most. Killing intent and rage immediately began to surge within them, burning like roaring flames. The statue of the captain has been destroyed. Someone has destroyed the captain's statue. Which bastard did this? I'll personally carve you up for destroying the statue of our captain. How dare they destroy the statue of our captain? I'll chop whoever did it into 1,000,000 pieces. The eyes of each and every person became bloodshot, as they gnashed their teeth. Intense rage began to burn within their eyes. The destruction of Jianchen's statue was like the murder of their parents. It was a debt that would be seared into the blood, and a crime that could not be forgiven. How dare you, you madman? You must be sick of living for destroying the captain's statue. Pay with your life. A roar suddenly erupted from deep within the city. Several large presences surged into the sky, as a few saint rulers that had joined the mercenaries shot toward the statue in rage. Chapter 1060. The first captain. The roars from the Saint rulers rang through the entire city, so everyone learned that someone had destroyed the captain's sculpture. It threw everyone into a rage, to the point where even more mercenaries took to the skies and quickly flew toward the center. The main headquarters of the mercenaries was located toward the rear of the city. It was a palace constructed like an emperor's, and the core power of the mercenaries gathered there. The people in charge stayed in this palace. Currently, the green dressed by Lien and several high-ranking members of the mercenaries were sternly discussing the developments of the flame mercenaries. Suddenly, a shout passed through the various obstructions and resounded clearly in the room, disrupting Bai Lian's meeting with the others. Bai Lian's complexion immediately darkened when she heard that someone had destroyed the sculpture of her own brother. Her eyes shone with a chilling light. I'd like to see just who it is that dares to destroy my brother's sculpture. I definitely won't let them go so easily for acting so recklessly. Bai Lian was enraged. She slammed the desk and left despite the meeting. She strode outward with a darkened face, while the high-ranking members followed closely behind her. Jianchen floated several hundred meters in the air at the center of the city. Jianchen crossed his arms and leisurely watched as the Saint rulers quickly approached him. By his side, Ruijin floated expressionlessly, gazing at the obliterated sculpture from time to time. Some doubt also filled his eyes. The Saint rulers all possessed surging presences as they drew their saint weapons. Then, they surrounded Jianchen and Ruijin. Surging energy pulsed wildly around them, which caused the surrounding space to slightly twist. They were ready for battle at any time. Who are you? Why have you destroyed Captain Jianchen's sculpture? Why don't you quickly? A saint ruler yelled at Jianchen as he glared at him. But before he had finished speaking, he became surprised. He stared blankly at Jianchen's appearance as disbelief flooded his face. The saint ruler stared blankly at him for quite a long time. Then he asked with a trembling voice that was filled with shock. Why, you're Captain Jianchen. What? Captain Jianchen? The four other saint rulers all became astounded when they heard this. They immediately observed Jianchen carefully. They had never seen Jianchen before, but they had seen his images and his sculptures, so they were familiar with his appearance. They immediately noticed that the young man really did seem the same as their captain. Another tremendous aura appeared, rapidly drawing closer to Jianchen's location. It was the ancestor of the Bai family, Bai Hai, who flew over with Bai Lian at lightning speed. Both of their faces were pale as anger burned within them. The destruction of Jianchen's sculpture seemed to have touched their most sensitive area. They were currently thinking about how they would viciously punish the person who destroyed the sculpture. But when the two of them saw the saint rulers that encircled Jianchen and Ruijin, they became stunned as stupefaction filled their faces. A bucket of cold water seemed to extinguish their roaring flames of anger, disappearing completely. Brother, how is it you? Bai Lian called out. She was astonished. Bai Hai also stared at Jianchen in stupefaction. Then, he looked at the pile of dust that was once a sculpture. He was confused. He had already learned that the person who destroyed the sculpture was his own great-grandson by now. We greet Captain Jianchen. The saint rulers that had arrived first finally confirmed Jianchen's identity. Without any hesitation, they bowed and respectfully greeted Jianchen. They were all extremely excited. Jianchen was a legendary figure of the continent, someone that could only be heard about in stories. Even as saint rulers, they struggled to stay composed. As for their anger, it had completely disappeared long ago. Jianchen saw Bai Lian's thin face, and his anger about the sculpture vanished in that moment. Love began to fill his heart, and he made his way through the air to Bai Lian in an instant. He then looked at her lovingly and pitifully, as he gently said, Lianer, it really must have been tiring managing the matters of the mercenaries. Bai Lian could not help but smile sweetly from Jianchen's loving concern for her well-being. However, she then gazed past the missing sculpture in the center of the city and became confused. She asked, Brother, did you destroy the sculpture? Yes, it was me who destroyed it, Jianchen said nonchalantly as he stared at the clouds of dust in the air. Brother, the statue was sculpted with a great deal of effort from over 100 artisans I found. Why did you destroy it? Was it badly sculpted? Bai Lian felt like she had suffered a wrong as she spoke delicately. Lianer, don't get mad. Brother has no intentions of blaming you. It's just that you don't understand the origins of the mercenaries. The statue standing in the center of the city should not be depicting me, but the first captain of the flame mercenaries, Jianchen said softly. He gazed into the horizon as reminiscence filled his eyes. The first captain? Aren't you the first captain, brother? Bai Lian became surprised as disbelief filled her face. Jianchen shook his head. Lianer, I am not the first captain of the flame mercenaries. The first captain was called Kendall. I'm only the second. The matters from the past flashed through Jianchen's head like a movie. Jianchen thought back to the days where he wandered the magical Beast Mountain range with the members of the flame mercenaries. He could still remember clearly that many years ago, the flame mercenaries faced the pursuit of a Class 5 Golden Fur Tiger King. In the end, everyone died to it except him, including the first captain Kendall. Kendall's greatest wish was for the flame mercenaries to become the greatest and most powerful mercenary group on the Tianyuan continent. As a result, Jianchen took up the great aspiration of expanding the flame mercenaries in order to complete Kendall's wish. Back then, when he became the second captain of the flame mercenaries, he was alone. Afterward, Ming Dong joined. Now, after so many years, the mercenary group had expanded from its initial nameless state to something that could shake up the continent. Brother, who is the first captain of the flame mercenaries? Why haven't I heard a single thing about him after staying so long in the flame mercenaries? Bai Lian asked. Jianchen sighed gently. He died many years ago. With that, Jianchen suddenly grabbed at the ground with his two hands. The ground at the center of the city quickly began to move, and the soil surged rapidly into the air. It climbed higher and higher. In just a few seconds, Jianchen erected a huge statue from the earth. Chapter 1061. Exploring the tungsten alloy deposit. Once more all the mercenaries and merchants stared at the huge statue in shock, as it had grown from the ground. Many of them became confused. The statue had completely replaced Jianchen's sculpture, but it depicted another person. It was an honest-looking middle-aged man, who seemed to be in his 40s. He was the first captain of the flame mercenaries, as well as the founder Kendall. Jianchen stared at the familiar face with mixed emotions as reminiscence filled his eyes. He would never forget how Kendall looked. He was like a scorching brand that had been deeply imprinted into the depths of Jianchen's head. He could not forget him even if he wanted, and even though so many years had passed, he could recall it before his eyes exactly like when it happened. The statue that had grown from the ground was created by Jianchen using his own abilities, by taking control of the earth, and then modifying it matched the Kendall from his memories. This was not an extravagant expenditure. As long as one was a saint ruler that could control earth-attributed saint force, it could easily be achieved. However, Kendall's statue was still very fragile after its creation, and it lacked a certain charm. Jianchen slowly closed his eyes, and with a single thought, the earth-attributed energy of the world immediately began to bubble, surging in from everywhere with extremely great speed. In the end, it turned into a hazy earthen yellow light that flowed unceasingly into the statue. The color of the statue immediately became to change with the input of the energy. It began to whiten at a visible rate, the soft soil turning to tough stone, becoming harder and harder. Jianchen could control all 6 attributes of energy, including light and dark. He had gathered all the earth-attributed energy in a radius of 100 kilometers, using all he had to construct Kendall's sculpture. Yu, Bai Hai, and the 5 saint rulers stared unblinkingly at the statue as it became harder and harder, observing the unfamiliar face. They all knew inside that this was probably the first captain Jianchen spoke of. Although the statue at the center of the city, which represented the glory of Flame City, had completely changed, they dared not voice any objections, even as high-ranking members. This was all what Jianchen decided, and Jianchen's status in the mercenaries was irreplaceably high. Even Bai Lian, in charge of managing the mercenaries, could not object. Jianchen had basically become a god to every member of the mercenaries. He was the pillar of mental support for the entire group. A single casual sentence from him was like an edict from God himself. More and more people gathered around Kendall's statue, causing it to become crowded very soon. The large square became extremely packed. Most of the people were members of the Flame Mercenaries, and had come with burning rage. They wanted to brutally punish the person who destroyed Jian Chen's statue. However, they could not help but become doubtful when they saw Bai Lian and the saint rulers just floating in the air, taking no action whatsoever. They sensed that this matter did not seem as severe as they had imagined. But due to the distance and where they stood, many people could not see Jian Chen, so they failed to recognize him. After 10 whole minutes, the earth-attributed energy finally dispersed, and Kendall's sculpture was completed. Kendall's sculpture was currently as tough as steel. Jian Chen had even left a large quantity of earth-attributed energy within the sculpture, causing its toughness to greatly increase. Even Heaven Saint Masters would struggle to break it. Kendall's statue did not radiate with any earth-shaking aura. It seemed extremely ordinary. His honest and kind-looking face was created in a lifelike fashion by Jian Chen, as if Kendall was still alive. Jian Chen stood with his arms crossed as he gazed at the statue with deep emotions. He said, "Do you all see? He was the first captain of the Flame Mercenaries. His name is Kendall, and the statue that stands in the center of the city belongs to him, not me. If there was not Captain Kendall, the current Flame Mercenaries would not exist." Bai Lian and the others all stared at the statue with their full attention. Their expressions became mixed, and they remained speechless for quite some time, as the information was just too astounding. At the same time, the news that Jian Chen's statue had been changed spread through the entire city like wildfire. It caused a huge commotion, causing people to discuss it everywhere and at all times. Jian Chen stayed there for a while, before returning to the palace in Flame City. Soon after that, the news regarding Kendall as the first captain of the Flame Mercenaries was spread out as well, traveling through the entire city with lightning speed. Everyone there learned about the truth regarding this matter, as well as the identity of the person that the statue depicted. Although many people believed it still should have been Jian Chen as a statue, they did not show any objections, let alone any dissatisfaction, since Jian Chen had personally saw it through. Jian Chen gained an even clearer understanding regarding Flame City from Bai Lian. Everything happened smoothly. It could be said that ever since Jian Chen had returned from the Sea Realm, and had taken back the city from the Extinguishing Alliance, the status of the Flame Mercenaries skyrocketed on the Tianyuan continent, allowing the mercenaries to successfully develop in an extraordinary fashion. Also, Jian Chen learned from Bai Lian that the first few members of the mercenary group had completed their training in Walorant City. They had all returned to Flame City, and had successfully become a part of the Flame Mercenaries with the token of identification Jian Chen had given them all those years ago. Jian Chen treated them with particular importance, as they were loyal subordinates. He met with them in person. Through the years outside when they had trained on the edge of life and death, they had undergone a baptism of blood, forged an iron willpower, gained powerful battle prowess, and nurtured a spirit that did not fear death. However, during their adventures on the Tianyuan continent, there were members who were lost, as well as some loyal, bold mercenaries that joined. Under the fluctuating number, there were 65 of them now. Each and every one of them had reached Earth Saint Master, and they all possessed battle skills. Their strength was incomparable to ordinary people. On the other hand, the Golden Fur Tiger King Cub they had obtained in Walorant City had fallen in an intense battle before it had fully matured. Although no one reached Heaven Saint Master out of all of them, a few slightly talented members had reached the 6th cycle of Earth Saint Master. They were only an inch away from Heaven Saint Master, and had grasped Heaven Tier battle skills. Jian Chen had decided many years ago that he would use everything he had to nurture this group of people. As a result, he took them all into the artifact space, providing them with a quiet environment and all the resources required for cultivation, so that they would cultivate diligently to increase their strength. He even used invaluable heavenly resources of high maturity to change their constitutions. Jian Chen, even with the increase from the heavenly resources in their talent, They can only reach Saint Ruler at most due to innate restrictions. Some of them will even struggle to reach Saint Ruler. Is it really worth it to expend so much effort and resources in raising them? Rui Jin found Jian Shen's actions rather wasteful. Currently, the Flame Mercenaries are completely under my control. There were a few Saint Rulers who joined us, but they're completely untrustworthy. If the Flame Mercenaries wants to become truly powerful and maintain a steady, unmovable position on the Tianyuan continent, it needs to possess its own powerful force. They will be that force in the future, said Jian Shen. His decision in raising all of them was not wavered at all. There is no need to worry about their talent. There may be limits in what 1,000-year heavenly resources can change, but 10,000-year heavenly resources will definitely be able to change them completely. I may not be able to pull out that many heavenly resources at such a maturity right now, but looking for them would not be difficult with my current strength. There's also a wondrous item in the sea realm, called the divine water of the world. Its effects far exceeds 10,000-year heavenly resources. Once I find enough of it after I proceed to the sea realm in the future, they will be able to undergo metamorphosis, making it such that their future accomplishments will reach Saint Ruler at the very least. Jian Shen enthusiastically explained as he had planned everything out. Rui Jin fell silent. He did not say anything more, as Jian Shen obviously had his reasons for what he did. Allowing the elite squad of the Flame Mercenaries to settle down, Jian Shen and Rui Jin arrived in a mountain range several dozen kilometers from the city. It was the mine where they had discovered the tungsten alloy deposit. However, the mountain range was no longer as majestic as before after so many years of mining. It was now filled with holes, and several mountains had been mined away. Several huge pits had been dug where tungsten alloy, or was more concentrated. There was indeed an extremely great quantity of tungsten alloy, or in the deposit. Even after building the city walls for quite a large city, there was still a lot left. However, the ore was extremely pure, so the mining process was extremely difficult. Even Heaven Saint Masters would probably struggle to leave a mark if they struck with all they had, so the Flame Mercenaries stopped the mining process. They just did not possess the power to continue. Jian Shen arrived in the center of the mine with Rui Jin, staring down like a lord looking over his citizens. Below him was a large mass of jet-black tungsten alloy, ore, littered with the marks from mining and gathering. Chapter 1062. The growing metallic origin energy. Jian Shen levitated above the mountain range as he looked down in interest. He was expanding his presence fully. It quickly passed through various obstructions and entered the ground. When he at first discovered the deposit, the Grand Elder of Mercenary City, Tianjian, had found a ball of origin essence hidden deep within the deposit. It possessed extremely great power, and could assist people in breaking through to Saint King from the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. It was a rare treasure in the world. Jian Shen had also learned from the sword spirits that the origin energy hidden within the deposit was the origin energy of a metallic spirit from the 5 elements. Jian Shen's presence could pass through the obstructions of the tough tungsten alloy, or to reach several hundred meters into the ground. He could clearly feel an extremely great power pulsing slowly. It was pure with no impurities whatsoever. Senior Rui Jin, you must have also discovered that something is hidden in the mountain range of the tungsten alloy deposit, Jian Shen said as he stared down unblinkingly. A gleam of light flashed through Rui Jin's eyes, and he nonchalantly replied, I indeed have. It's an extremely pure and great power. Though it's surrounded by a thick layer of tungsten alloy, there aren't many people who can break through this layer, so it's very hard to remove. Do you have the power to remove it with your current strength then? Jian Shen said. Although the origin energy of the metallic spirit was of no use to himself, he wanted to use it on other people. If you need it, I'll make an attempt at it with my sacred dragon's sword, Rui Jin slowly answered. Afterward, a vast pressure began to radiate from him, and the sacred dragon's sword was slowly covered by a thick layer of white light. The terrifying energy ripples caused the surrounding space to distort, showing signs of shattering apart. The origin energy of the metallic spirit is much greater than before. It's actually growing. Master, get Rui Jin to stop immediately. What he's doing will destroy it. Ziying's voice suddenly rang through Jianshen's head. The sacred dragon's sword was already lifted high up. Ruijin was just about to cleave down. Senior Ruijin, let's wait actually. Jianshen also reacted quickly. He immediately stopped Ruijin, before concentrating on his sea of consciousness to converse with the sword spirits. Master, this ball of metallic origin energy is rapidly growing. If it has enough time, it will become even stronger, and even gain self-awareness. It will grow into a spirit, and become something like the barrier spirit of Mercenary City. Taking it out now would be destroying it, no doubt, Ziying explained. Surprise flashed through Jianshen's eyes. Pausing for a while in thought, he then said, how long would it roughly need to mature completely? We are unable to estimate that. It'll all depend on its rate of growth. However, the origin energy will become more powerful with time. Once it gains self-awareness, it will morph into a spirit. It will be richly endowed with talent, and can cultivate at a heaven-defying rate. It will have great accomplishments in the future, said Ziying. The barrier spirit of Mercenary City is also a spirit born from energy. However, it came from the essence of the earth, so it's just slightly below the metallic origin energy of the 5 elements. It's a pity that the barrier spirit's innately incomplete, or her accomplishments would be far greater than right now, sighed Ziying. It's just that the chances for it to morph into a spirit are just too low. I cannot guarantee whether the origin energy will gain self-awareness or not. It'll all depend on its fortune, said Ziying. Jianshen hesitated slightly with what the sword spirits had said, but he ended up giving up on the idea of taking the origin energy of the metallic spirit. Since it had a lot of room for growth, why not just give it some time? It would obviously be best if it could morph into a spirit, but even if it could not become self-aware, it would become even more powerful after a period of time. At that time, the benefits would be even greater if it was used to increase strength. Senior Ruijin, let's leave the origin energy a little longer. It won't be too late to remove it when we need it, Jianshen said to Ruijin. You make the decision. When you want to remove it, I can assist you in breaking through the tungsten alloy shell, said Ruijin. Right now his opinion of Jianshen was rapidly rising. They had become people at similar levels of strength long ago. Even if he had no need to keep Jianshen alive, just his talent and cultivation speed was enough to hold him in high esteem. Jianshen and Ruijin's eyes froze suddenly, and they turned to look in the same direction simultaneously. On the horizon, a faint gleam of 5-colored light appeared, causing the sky to become all colorful. It was pretty. Another person's reached Saint Ruler. By the direction, it should be quite close to Jessen Kingdom, Jianshen mumbled. He was extremely indifferent to the matter. Ruijin casually glanced at the direction before losing interest as well. Reaching Saint Ruler was a big deal to normal people, but it was nothing to his eyes. Jianshen did not pay too much attention to the rainbow clouds in the distance either. If it was several years ago, he would treat Saint Rulers as extremely strong experts, but they had all become extremely weak now like ants. He really could not find any interest in people at those levels anymore. Jianshen and Ruijin left the mountain range together, returning to the city. He handed a flaming jadeite, had been filled with Ruijin's power to Bai Lian as a treasure to guard the city. Afterward, Jianshen summoned the 5 saint rulers that had joined the mercenaries, and spoke with them. He made them swear some oaths, told them about the consequences of betrayal and so on. He then went to see Dugufeng. He originally wanted Dugufeng to put down what he was doing for the time being, so that he could devote all his energy into cultivation. However, Jianshen could not do anything since Dugufeng liked his current job very much. Jianshen had basically subdued Dugufeng like a servant back then, but he always treated Dugufeng as a good friend in the past years. He never forced Dugufeng to do anything, which was why Jianshen did not meddle with Dugufeng's choice. Jianshen, the disparity between our strengths is now like the distance from the ground to the sky. I can't catch up to you no matter how hard I cultivate, so there's no longer a point for me to follow you. All I can do is stay in Flame City and help you manage some affairs. Flame City is very big, but it has developed way too fast, so there's many problems with the management since it has failed to develop at the same rate. The two worst areas are the rules and the discipline. If those aren't managed well, problems will happen to the mercenaries sooner or later. This was Dugu Feng's explanation to Jian Chun, as well as his reason for taking up the position of a disciplinary elder. Jian Chun stayed for another 2 days in the city, before leaving with Bai Hai after handing over some matters. He returned to the Changyang clan in Lore City, through a space gate from Ruijin. As soon as he returned, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao came looking for him. He called Jian Chun into a conference hall while Ruijin and Bai Hai both left to rest. They did not follow him to the hall. Jian Chun discovered a few unfamiliar people as soon as he entered the grand hall. They were an old man and 3 women. However, the thing that surprised Jian Chun was that Yu Yu was actually present as well, and not cultivating in outer space. Her complexion was not very great. Jian Chun's face sank slightly when he noticed Yu Yu's expression. He seemed to realize something before observing the 4 outsiders. The old man possessed a ruddy and sagely aura, like some old immortal. He sat there leisurely and did not speak. Jian Chun had seen the old man before. He was one of the great elders of the Changyang Protector clan, a saint king at the 6th heavenly layer. One of the 3 women was a middle-aged beauty. She was a saint ruler, while the other 2 ladies seemed to be in their 20s. They stood out quite a lot with their appearances as well, though they were heaven saint masters. Jian Chun, this is one of the 7 great elders of the Changyang clan, Changyang Qingjuri. He would be a great-grandfather of yours in terms of seniority. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao introduced for Jian Chun. Changyang Qingjuri stared at Jian Chun ever since he had come in. With Changyang Zhu Yunxiao's introduction, he immediately stood up and smiled amicably. He said, "You must be Xiangtian. You really are a genius. The Protector clans gained quite the glory from you. Come sit, come sit." Changyang Qingjuri treated Jian Chun extremely politely. Although Jian Chun was a junior by age, he did not act snobbishly. Jian Chun bowed politely before taking the empty seat next to Yu Yu. He asked politely as he looked at Yu Yu's troubled expression, "Yuer, what's happening here?" Yu Yu was clearly relieved now that Jian Chun had made it in time. She seemed to have found the person she would rely on, and much of her worries vanished. She said to Jian Chun, "They want my Bright Moon Divine Hall." "What?" Jian Chun's expression abruptly changed with that, taking a bad turn in complexion. Chapter 1063. The greed of the Changyang clan. Jian Chun suddenly narrowed his eyes, as an intense anger uncontrollably rose within him. His gaze toward Changyang Qingjuri also underwent an overwhelming change, becoming extremely hostile. The Bright Moon Divine Hall now belonged to Yu Yu. It was crucial for cultivation. She could only absorb moonlight force quickly through the Divine Hall. She would progress much slower in the future without it. The Divine Hall also functioned as a method where Yu Yu could protect herself, and Jian Chun would not need to worry for her safety. As a result, Jian Chun became extremely angered now that the people of the Changyang clan actually wanted to take the Divine Hall from Yu Yu. "Is that true? You want to take the Bright Moon Divine Hall?" Jian Chun suddenly stood up and glared at Changyang Qingjuri. He acted pressingly, showing no respect for him. He was completely indifferent about the fact that Changyang Qingjuri was technically a great-grandfather of his. Changyang Zhu Yunxiao sat in the seat beside Jian Chun. He showed no intentions of stopping or persuading the angered Jian Chun. He drank tea leisurely and said nothing, as if he had seen nothing. Changyang Qingjuri had expected this from Jian Chun long ago, so he maintained an amicable smile. He said unhurriedly, "Xiangtian, it's not like what you think. The clan is just considering Yu Yu's relatively low strength. The Bright Moon Divine Hall is an invaluable treasure, enough to cause any person of the continent to become green with greed. If it remains with Yu Yu, it might just end up attracting endless trouble, or even be taken by some powerful people. This is why the clan has decided to have Yu Yu leave the Divine Hall in the clan, so that it can't be lost." "So in other words, you want to take the Divine Hall for Yuer's own good?" Jian Chun sneered. Changyang Qingjuri obviously could sense the sarcasm in Jian Chun's tone. His expression remained the same, but he was now filled with bitterness. He knew that taking the Divine Hall from Yu Yu was almost impossible now. Changyang Qingjuri said after a period of silence, Xiangtian. I know what you're worrying about. You can completely relax about that. You're now a member of the clan, so the clan would never do something against you. Having you leave the Divine Hall indeed has only benefits, and is not detrimental in any way. She will remain as the owner of the Divine Hall. I appreciate your kindness for Yuer. The Divine Hall is impregnable, and is nowhere as fragile as ordinary ones. With the Divine Hall by her side, even Saint Emperors can't do anything to her. So leaving the Divine Hall with the Protector clan is completely unnecessary, said Jianchen. Changyang Qingjui's heart immediately skipped a beat when he heard that even Saint Emperors were helpless against the Bright Moon Divine Hall. He thought, the Divine Hall's actually so powerful. It's on par with the Divine Hall left behind by Motianyan for Mercenary City. If the clan has the protection of a Divine Hall like that, do we still need to fear the other Protector clans and Mercenary City? Changyang Qingjui's mood immediately began to surge. The 10 Protector clans were in possession of quite a few Divine Halls, but none of them could resist attacks from Saint Emperors. If they were in possession of one that could, the Protector Changyang clan could ignore the Saint Emperors of the Beast God continent and the Path Lord of Carnal Desires, becoming the only other clan that can rival Mercenary City. Even now, Changyang Qingjuri could still clearly remember the conflict between the 10 Protector clans and Mercenary City several tens of thousands of years ago. The Protector clans sent over 20 Saint Emperors. The group was so great that it outnumbered the Saint Emperors of Mercenary City several times over. Yet Mercenary City only sent a single person. Through the powerful Divine Hall, he stopped all of the Saint Emperors from the Protector clans, shaking the entire continent. The middle-aged beauty, who was a saint ruler, began to talk, seeing how Changyang Qingjuri said nothing. Changyang Xiangtian. Legend has it that Fairy Haoyu's cultivation method is the only method that exceeds Saint Tier on the Tianyuan continent, and it is only suitable for females. Since your fiancée has become a disciple of Fairy Haoyu, she must have obtained the cultivation method. Why not get her to offer it up? It'll be a great contribution to the clan, and it'll also allow our clan's strength to increase. If all the women of the clan use that cultivation method, we can completely surpass the 9 other clans in no time. Jian Chen's expression became even uglier. Not only did the Protector clan want you use Divine Hall, they even desired Fairy Haoyu's cultivation method. This was far beyond what he could bear. Jian Chen had already clenched his fists tightly. The anger within him had peaked. If it were not for the fact that they were people of the Changyang clan and not some outsiders, he would have chased them out long ago. Changyang Xiangtian, you're a member of the Protector Changyang clan. You use your fiancé, so we're really all just one big family. According to the rules of the clan, every member must treat the clan with utmost importance and do everything for the clan. Yu's cultivation method is extremely important to the clan, so she should offer it up, continued the woman. Enough, shut up. Jian Chen could not longer bear with it anymore and slammed the armrest of his chair. The powerful force turned the chair to dust. He glared at the woman and Changyang Qingjuri and coldly said, "Don't go on about clan rules and benefits for the clan before me. Unless Yuer is willing herself, no one can take away the Bright Moon Divine Hall or Fairy Haoyu's cultivation method. Otherwise, I will treat it as you going against me." Changyang Xiangtian, it's outrageous how you speak to your seniors. Do you really think that you can ignore the rules and the hierarchy of the clan just because you have great strength? I may be weaker than you, but you still should be referring to me as your great-grandmother in terms of family, the woman sternly said, wanting to suppress Jian Chen with her seniority. Jian Chen's lips curled into a sneer of disdain. You still don't have the right to be my great-grandmother. Everyone, my Changyang clan does not welcome you. Please leave. Jian Chen made a gesture, directly ordering the guests to leave. How dare you, Changyang Xiangtian? Don't you know who great-grandfather Juri is? He's a great elder of our Protector clan. Why, you dare to treat him like that? You have no respect for your elders. A heaven saint master beside the middle-aged woman stood up furiously as she yelled at Jian Chen while pointing at him. Changyang Qingjuri was no longer able to remain as composed as before. He was a great elder of a grand Protector clan. His status was so great, yet he was actually ordered to leave by someone younger than him. Would he still be able to retain any dignity if he abided? If it were not for the fact that this junior possessed a relatively special status, he would have taught him a lesson long ago. In no way would he have endured it. Let's go. Changyang Qingjuri glanced at Changyang Zuyanshao, who silently sat to one side, before waving his sleeve. He left furiously and hurriedly with the middle-aged woman and the two ladies. Changyang Zuyanshao slowly stood up after Changyang Qingjuri left, sighing deeply at the sky. He was filled with helplessness. Jianchen, the two requests made by Changyang Qingjuri and the others are indeed rules of the clan, so I can't help you talk. You don't understand the protector clans. Our rules are extremely rigid and have existed since the ancient times. Even great elders dare not break them so easily. I hope you can understand, sighed Changyang Zuyanshao. I don't care how rigid the protector clan's rules are. I will never let them take anything from Yuer. Though I do hope you don't end up helping them with that, Jianshan replied. You don't have to worry about that. You're a member of the Zhu branch, so the branch will never make things difficult for you, including your great-grandfather Changyang Zhu Shao. Changyang Zhu Yinshao sternly explained. Jianshan, great-grandfather Yinshao, you're actually worrying too much. Even if I offer up the Divine Hall and the cultivation method, they can't do anything with them. The Divine Hall is still controlled by Master's hands. I only have partial control over it. The cultivation method is even more so the case. Even if they obtain it, they can't use it for cultivation since they need a specific constitution, which can only be obtained through the personal modifications of Master, said Yu Yu. They might not believe that. Fairy How You may still be alive, but she's reduced to a soul. Her capability of deterrence is no longer as great as before. Changyang Zuyanshao said after some thought. He hesitated slightly before continuing once more. Jianshan, the seal in Konga mine still has not been released. The Protector clan wants you to return, and then the 7 great elders can work together to release the seal. I hope you can make some time to visit the Protector clan regardless of how you feel about them, so you can release Konger from his 1,000 years of pain. Jianshan agreed after a pause. I'll visit the Protector clan in 3 days. It'll all be for great-grandfather though. Chapter 1064. Visiting the Huanggu clan. Jianshan left the conference hall with Yu Yu. The two of them first visited Jianshan's parents. During their conversation, Bai Yintian mentioned the marriage between Jianshan and Yu Yu once more, but it was evaded by both of them together. Jianshan was now in possession of enough strength to protect himself and the people around him, but there were still many matters he needed to deal with. He was in no mood to consider marriage. On the other hand, Yu Yu now had the Bright Moon Divine Hall, as well as Fairy How Yu's cultivation method. Right now, her only objective was to increase her strength as fast, and as much as possible, devoting all her energy into cultivation. She would consider marriage once she possessed enough strength to help out Jianshan. Bidding farewell to Bai Yintian and Changyang Ba, Yu Yu did not stick by Jianshan's side for very long. She entered the Divine Hall once more, going to outer space to cultivate. Once I drop off Uncle Chang, great-grandfather Bai Hai, Yang Ling, and Senior Huang Tianba at Mercenary City, I'll go to the Protector clan immediately and get them to release great-grandfather Changyang Zuyingkong's seal. Jianshan thought after leaving his parents' room. The main reason why he visited Flame City last time was to take Bai Hai with him. He planned on leaving Bai Hai in Mercenary City, so Xiaoling could invoke the mysteries of the world for him to comprehend. Now it's just Senior Huang Tianba. The Huang family just happens to be rather close to here, so I'll go by myself. Jianshan shot off like a cannonball, climbing high up into the sky with extremely great speed. He shot off in the direction of the Huang family, disappearing in the blink of an eye. He could not help but think of a flawless beauty in his head. He thought, it's been so many years. I wonder how Wanner's been. With her talent, she should have made great improvement in these years. Jianshan immediately sped up some more after that thought. The Huang family was over 30,000 kilometers away from the Jessen kingdom. With Jianshan's speed, he only needed 2 short hours before arriving at the beautiful mountain. abundant with energy of the world, where the Huang family resided. Jianshun descended outside the entrance of the manor. He did not conceal his presence, so he was discovered by experts of the Huang family as soon as he arrived. Several Heaven Saint Masters immediately shot out from within. They all became surprised when they recognized Jianshun, and their stern faces immediately became replaced with smiles. They politely welcomed Jianshun into the clan. With Jianshun's current fame on the continent, almost all hermit clans had heard about him. His current level of status could not be compared to his past. The Huang family immediately became overwhelmed by Jianshun's sudden visit. Not only did the patriarch personally come out to receive him, even people of previous generations came out of seclusion. Jianshun was younger than any of them, but he was still a saint king after all. He was indisputably someone who held great power on the continent where strength determined all. Jianshun struggled a little to adapt to how everyone in the Huang family had come out to receive him. After conversing with the patriarch slightly, he cut to the chase. "Patriarch, I've come this time to find Senior Huang Tianba. May I ask where he is currently? The ancestor has always been cultivating in seclusion, and he hasn't appeared in several years already. I will bring you to him if you are looking for the ancestor," said the patriarch, before directly flying to the rear of the mountain with Jianshun and a few other experts of the clan. Very quickly, Jianshun arrived at the sword-shaped ridge where Huang Tianba stayed in seclusion. It was surrounded by a barrier, and inside stood a single old wooden hut. "Descendant greets the old ancestor. Brother Jianshun has come to our clan." The patriarch spoke courteously to the hut as he stood outside the barrier. Jianshun stared nonchalantly at the hut, and some wonder appeared in his eyes. He said, "Patriarch, there's no need to keep calling. Senior Huang Tianba's not in there." "What? The ancestor's not there?" The patriarch became stunned. Jianshun nodded slightly before expanding his presence. He enveloped a radius of 1,000 kilometers in an attempt to find signs of Huang Tianba. But there was nothing. "If I can't find him in the radius of 1,000 meters, expanding my presence any further than that would result in the same outcome. Looks like the senior's not in the clan right now," thought Jianshun. The patriarch thought a little and said, "Brother, Huang Wuwan's a disciple of the ancestor from the Huanggu clan. She's always stayed in the Huanggu clan cultivating, while the ancestor treats her like a treasure. Since the ancestor's not with us, he's probably gone to the Huanggu clan to see her." "Huang Wuwan's at the Huanggu clan," repeated Jianshun inside. He then said, "I'll visit the Huanggu clan then." Jianshun declined the patriarch's attempts to get him to stay, leaving immediately after learning where the Huanggu clan was. The Huanggu clan was located in the south, hidden in a forest that was always covered with mist and filled with magical beasts. Very few people knew about its existence. A 1,000-meter-tall tower stood in the center of the clan. That tower was the most sacred building in the clan, since it was where the ancestor cultivated. A disheveled old man hung in the air of the top room in the tower. The room was completely sealed and slightly gloomy, while the man was surrounded with huge thick chains. He looked like a beggar. The old man possessed very great strength. Every time he struggled, the chains would rattle, but he could not break free from them no matter how hard he tried. "You mongrel, you will pay for this. If I break free, I will never let you go." The old man's voice was hoarse with hatred. Before him stood the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. The ancestor was at ease and possessed a sneer. "Huang Tianba, do you still think you have a chance at revenge? Why don't you think about your current predicament? Do you think you still have the ability to break free? You better give up on that thought. Mongrel, my Huang family has never done anything to your Huanggu clan. Why do you do this to me?" Huang Tianba gnashed his teeth. He was haggard, no longer possessing his former glory. Chapter 1065. Disaster at the doorstep. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan sneered. "Huang Tianba, your precious great-granddaughter has already become a saint ruler now, and my great plan is about to come to an end. You are already someone at your end, so it doesn't matter even if I tell you. Huang Tianba, have you ever heard about the water spirit's body?" The ancestor said. "The water spirit's body? What water spirit's body?" What has that got to do with my beloved great-granddaughter? Huang Tianba questioned. He had no idea about the specific constitution. I can understand why you don't know. The Huanggu clan ancestor sneered. The scripture of the aquatic sunflower I practice is a water-attributed saint tier cultivation method. The water spirit's body is recorded in there. The water spirit's body is an extremely rare and special type of constitution on the Tianyuan continent. It very rarely appears on the continent. It's difficult to come across someone with it, even over the span of 100,000 years. Anyone with that constitution is endowed with great talent for water-attributed cultivation methods. Not only do they improve at an astonishing speed, their future accomplishments are immeasurable. They have the potential to reach Saint Emperor. A powerful gleam of yearning began to glow in the ancestor's eyes when he mentioned Saint Emperor. Are you saying that my great-granddaughter is in possession of this water spirit's body that you mentioned? But what intentions do you have by taking her in as your disciple and passing the scripture of the aquatic sunflower to her? Huang Tianba's eyes shone with interest as he stared tightly at the Huanggu clan ancestor. Correct. That girl indeed is in possession of this rare constitution, but it has not been completely activated yet. If it were not for the wonders of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower, probably no one would have been able to discover her constitution beforehand, chuckled the Huanggu clan ancestor. You mongrel! So you want to control Wanner and turn her into a puppet of your clan? Huang Tianba became enraged. He struggled furiously against the chains as he hung in midair, producing clanking sounds. Control? Ha ha ha, I've spent so much effort, and even passed the scripture of the aquatic sunflower to that girl. It's not going to be as simple as controlling her. I'm just helping her unlock the potential of her constitution, which I'll then absorb all her talent and pure water-attributed saint force through a secret technique. My strength will skyrocket, and I will reach Saint King. At the same time, I will have hopes of reaching Saint Emperor in the future. The ancestor's eyes burned with greed. You bastard, you won't succeed. My great-granddaughter is Jian Chen's woman. Not only is Jian Chen a prodigy with unlimited potential, he has close ties with the Grand Elder of Mercenary City. If you even touch my great-granddaughter, Jian Chen will never let you go. Huang Tianba roared hoarsely as surging hatred filled his eyes. Fear immediately appeared in the depths of the ancestor's eyes upon hearing Jian Chen. Although he had never left the clan in the recent years, he had an extremely clear understanding about the matters outside, especially with matters regarding Jian Chen. He knew even more than Huang Tianba. Jian Chen had resisted the 10 protector clans all by himself, and had even caused them to back off. That was Jian Chen's power. But the ancestor seemed to think of something very soon. The fear in his eyes immediately vanished and he sneered. Huang Tianba, you're still thinking of Jian Chen even no? I must admit that he is a junior with shocking talent. But why would he come to my Huanggu clan? Even if he comes, he won't do anything to me. His lips curled into a sinister smile. After all, your beloved great-granddaughter has already reached Saint Ruler successfully. All her potential has been completely unlocked. I'll go find her right now, and very soon, there will be one more Saint King on the continent. No matter how great Jian Chen's abilities are, it's impossible for him to learn about what is happening here. You mongrel! I will never let you go even if I come back as a ghost. Huang Tianba roared furiously as his body trembled violently. However, his voice lacked power. With the current circumstances, he was indeed at the mercy of the ancestor. His strength was sealed. He did not even have the power to resist. Ha 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 ha, Huang Tianba, you better stay here and personally witness the birth of another Saint King. The ancestor wildly laughed, as if his future of reaching Saint King was already set in stone. The complacent smile on his face slowly vanished. However, just as he wanted to leave the room, a mighty voice suddenly rang from outside. The captain of the Flame Mercenaries, Senior Jian Chen, has come to visit the Huanggu clan. Jian Chen's voice was rather plain, but it spread out in all directions in the form of a visible sound waves. Not only did it cause all of the buildings in the clan to shake slightly, it passed through various obstacles, allowing everyone to hear it extremely clearly. Even those who were in completely sealed rooms in seclusion were not an exception. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan reacted abruptly as he was about to close the door to the room. In that moment, any joy of his completely vanished, and his complexion took a horrible turn. Deep fear and dread began to flood his eyes. Jianshen, it's actually Jianshen. Jianshen's come to my Huanggu clan. The ancestor struggled to maintain his calm and composure as before. His heart began to heavily thump. In that moment, without even realizing it, he had already begun to tremble slightly. Crap, it'll be troublesome now. How has that bloody Jianshen found his way here? Why can't he come a little later? His heart grew cold. What he dreaded the most was finally about to happen. Ha 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 ha, it's brother Jianshen. He's come. He has the support of the Grand Elder from Mercenary City. You mongrel, I'd like to see what you do now. Huang Tianba became filled with vigor once more. In that moment, he seemed to catch the glimpse of a ray of light in pure darkness. He had seen the hope of breaking out. Bang! The ancestor of the Huanggu clan slammed the door shut, as if he was afraid that Huang Tianba's voice would make it to Jianshen's ears. His complexion was extremely horrible, and he became unsettled. He wanted to run, but once he thought about Jianshen's current strength, he immediately gave up on that thought. Suddenly, an idea crossed his mind. He thought, Jianshen may have come to my clan, but he has no idea about how I've been dealing with Huang Tianba and Huang Wan. In other words, the situation still hasn't reached its worst point. I still have a sliver of hope, and I also have a final trump card to keep me alive. He immediately calmed down by quite a bit with that, before quickly dismissing his thoughts. He left the tower as if nothing had happened, personally going up to welcome Jianshen. Ha ha ha, so it's my friend Jianshen who suddenly paid a visit. Your fame on the continent these days is like the noon sun, just as dazzling and unstoppable. It truly is an honor for you to visit my clan. If this news breaks out, my clan's status will definitely skyrocket on the continent. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan laughed excitedly from afar, flattering Jianshen. Chapter 1066. Huang Tianba saved. Jianshen knew that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan was Huang Wan's master, so he spoke relatively politely. He did not give off any particular presence, so he looked just like an ordinary person right now, floating midair as if he was standing. The ancestor's face was filled with smiles, arriving before Jianshen with fake excitement. His compliments flowed unceasingly from his mouth, buttering up to Jianshen. Jianshen was oblivious to Huang Wan and Huang Tianba's current situation, which was why he responded very amicably to the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. After all, he was Huang Wan's master. The two of them conversed a little before cutting to the chase. Jianshen said, Senior, may I ask if Wanner and Senior Huang Tianba is with you? The ancestor's heart sank once again, but he showed none of it. He smiled. I was thinking that brother Jianshen would be visiting for my beloved disciple, and Huang Tianba. It's a pity though you've come too late. My disciple's gone out for training, while Huang Tianba is not in my clan either. What? They're not at your clan? Jianshen was astounded. Yep. They're not with me right now. Huang Tianba may have gone traveling. Brother Jianshen, if you want to find them, I'll contact you immediately if they come back to my Huanggu clan, the ancestor leisurely replied. However, no one knew that his emotions inside were the exact opposite. He wished that Jianshen would leave as soon as possible. With every moment Jianshen stayed, his uneasiness would increase. Jianshen could not help but feel confused with what the ancestor had said. He had learned from Yu that ever since Huang Wan had left Flame City to go to the Huanggu clan all those years ago, she had never appeared. There had not even been a single piece of news about her. When he first heard that, Jianshen thought that Huang Wan had always remained in the Huang family, cultivating arduously. However, only with his visit from before did he discover that Huang Wan did not stay at the Huang family at all. As a result, there was only the Huanggu clan. Jianshen felt suspicious about Huang Wan going out for training mentioned by the ancestor. Suddenly, Jianshen expanded his presence and enveloped the entire clan. He wanted to check whether it was actually like the ancestor said. Jianshen's presence was extremely powerful. Combined with how profound it It passed through all the defenses and obstacles of the clan easily, allowing him to observe the clan clearly. However, Jian Chen's complexion changed the moment his presence swept through the tower in the center of the clan. A terrifying light exploded from his eyes and anger began to fume from him. Inside contained a deep killing intent as well. He had sensed a beggar-like old man, wrapped in chains within the hidden room. Although the old man was disheveled and haggard, Jian Chen recognized him with a single glance. It was the person he was searching for, Huang Tianba. Senior Huang. Jian Chen cried out furiously. He arrived before the tower with a flash and struck out with his hand. With a boom, the tower collapsed loudly, obliterated from Jian Chen's attack. The fragments of the tower shot off in all directions, destroying quite a few structures in the clan. Huang Tianba also fell from the sky with the destruction of the tower. With another flash, he appeared by Huang Tianba's side, after leaving behind an afterimage of where he had been before. He caught Huang Tianba and gently landed. Huang Tianba's face had already become pale white. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan paled in fright. Badly shaken, he stared at the fuming Jian Chen, and without any hesitation, he fled off into the distance as fast as he could. He swore inside, "God damn it, how did Jian Chen know that Huang Tianba was trapped in the tower? He clearly didn't know before." Right now, all he wanted to do was survive. He could not bother with the lives of his clansmen. Suddenly being saved, Huang Tianba obviously became extremely emotional. Just as he wanted to say something, he saw the ancestor of the Huanggu clan trying to flee, and immediately became enraged as well. He called out, "Jian Chen, don't let that mongrel go. Don't worry, Senior Huang. He can't escape." Icy killing intent formed in Jian Chen's eyes. Throwing that down, he immediately began to pursue the ancestor. In the air, the ancestor fled while Jian Chen pursued. They both used spatial force and moved extremely quickly. However, as they both were at the 7th heavenly layer in terms of their comprehensions for the mysteries of the world, the distance between them never really closed after a while of pursuit. With a flip of his hand, Jian Chen drew his Emperor armament from his space ring. With the injection of chaotic force, the Emperor armament immediately began to shine with dark light. The terrifying energy caused the surrounding space to distort, creating pitch-black cracks. Jian Chen's battle prowess immediately skyrocketed with the Emperor armament. The terrifying presence caused the ancestor of the Huanggu clan to pale in fright, now filled with despair inside. Jian Chen swung his sword and a huge, black sword chi immediately shot out, flying toward the ancestor with lightning speed. The Huanggu clan ancestor wanted to dodge, but the sword chi was not something he could avoid. There was a humongous disparity between saint kings and saint rulers. Arg! The sword chi caught up to him in the blink of an eye, and cleaved off his legs. The only body he had left was from the waist up. Violent pain caused him to shriek out in a chilling fashion, and it even affected his speed. He began to slow down. Jian Chen put away the Emperor armament, and caught up to him with lightning speed. This time, he did not treat the ancestor as politely as before. He ignored his painful cries, taking him away by grabbing his clothes. The Huanggu clan had fallen into chaos as of right now. The activity from the destruction of the tower had alarmed all the people in the clan. Everyone stopped their cultivation and stepped out of their residences to check what was happening outside. All the members of the upper echelon had already arrived beside Huang Tianba in the meantime. They all stared at him in shock as disbelief flooded their faces. They all recognized Huang Tianba as the ancestor of the Huang family, but they had no idea what their own ancestor had done. They all felt extremely shocked with Huang Tianba's current appearance, completely confused about what had happened. At this moment, a vast presence appeared in the distance. Jian Chen returned furiously to the clan with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, and landed on the ground. Afterward, he made his way to Huang Tianba, step by step while carrying the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. His face was sunken while his eyes were icy cold. Dense killing intent continued to linger on him. Ancestor! Ancestor! The group of people recognized that Jian Chen currently carried their ancestor with a single glance. Their faces all changed drastically as they called out sorrowfully, "Release the ancestor!" A middle-aged Heaven Saint Master cried out, charging at Jianshun with the saint weapon. His eyes were bloodshot from anger. Piss off! Jianshun angrily yelled out. He did not even glance at the person as he punched out. He used the toughness of his body to resist the person's saint weapon. Ding! Jianshun's fist collided with the saint weapon, and it shattered like tofu from Jianshun's punch. Jianshun's fist continued on with no reduction in force, mercilessly landing on the Heaven Saint Master's chest. The Heaven Saint Master spurted blood from his mouth as he shot back like a cannonball. He passed through several buildings before stopping 100 meters away in the end. His entire chest had caved in, and his organs had all turned to mush from the might of Jianshun's punch. Sixth Elder. The Heaven Saint Masters of the Huanggu clan all called out, immediately flying to the man who had been injured by Jianshun. They discovered that he had lost all signs of life. Jianshun's casual punch had claimed his life on the spot. All the people of the Huanggu clan immediately quietened down after witnessing Jianshun's strength. They all stared at him in surprise and fear. No one else dared to say anything more. They stepped aside to give way to Jianshun. Jianshun, you're still a supreme expert of the continent after all. You've actually murdered a Heaven Saint Master. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan furiously yelled out. The person who had passed away was his great-grandson, as well as the most talented person in the clan. He was treated with great importance by the ancestor. Chapter 1067. Huang Wan reaches Saint Ruler. It doesn't matter who you are. If you attack me, I'll kill you without mercy, Jianshun coldly said. His impression of the Huanggu clan had completely reversed. He treated them as enemies now. Huang Tianba had showed great kindness to him before, and he was also Huang Wan's great-grandfather. It did not matter what happened between Huang Tianba and the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. Jianshun would always stand by Huang Tianba's side. Jianshun slowly made his way to Huang Tianba's side with the legless ancestor in his hand. He threw him to the ground mercilessly before squatting down. He asked in concern, Senior Huang, are you all right? Just what has happened? Huang Tianba eyed the ancestor of the Huanggu clan that had collapsed on the ground like mud. He felt extremely delighted inside, and was also extremely shocked by Jianshun's strength. Huang Tianba's understanding of Jianshun's strength remained at the level from several years ago. He had no idea just how terrifying Jianshun had become. Brother Jianshun, that mongrel did all this to me all because my precious great-granddaughter is in possession of the rare water spirit's body. She's a prodigy with unlimited potential in the future. She is currently trapped by this bastard over 1,000 meters underground in a room. Please go save her. Huang Tianba spoke rather hurriedly. He was extremely concerned for Huang Wan's well-being. Jianshun's face changed with that. He immediately expanded his presence, and had indeed discovered Huang Wan trapped in a room underground. The room was enveloped by a powerful barrier. Jianshun's heart ached when he saw Huang Wan's haggard face. He could not imagine just how much pain she had gone through during these years. A killing intent even more powerful than before erupted from the bottom of Jianshun's heart, targeting the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. Senior Huang Tianba, I'll free you from your chains first, Jianshun hoarsely said. He grabbed the thick chains with his 2 hands, and with some force, the chains were crushed to pieces with a few cracks. Although the chains were made from a special type of metal, they were not unbreakable. Huang Tianba's strength was sealed up, so he could not use his powers as a saint ruler. That was why he was chained up for so long. Huang Tianba recovered his freedom, and teetered as he stood up. He thanked Jianshun, before arriving in front of the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. He laughed out loud without any restraint before gnashing his teeth. Never did you think that you would end up like now, did you? I'd like to see how you harm my precious great-granddaughter now. Huang Tianba's voice was filled with resentment. He kicked the ancestor's body as he spoke, but since his strength was currently sealed, as well as the fact that he had been chained up for so long, not only did he fail to hurt the Huanggu clan ancestor, he lost his footing and ended up staggering back. Jianshun helped Huang Tianba regain his balance with one hand and said, Senior Huang Tianba, I'll leave this person with you to deal with. Your strength is currently sealed. You should enter the Saint Artifact space, or I'll get someone to remove the seal from you." Jianchen was unable to remove the seal in Huang Tianba, as the brutality of chaotic force was not something ordinary people could endure. If his chaotic force entered Huang Tianba's body, it would harm him rather than help him. "No, I have to kill this bastard right now." Huang Tianba was absolutely furious. Killing intent surged from him. He utterly despised the ancestor of the Huanggu clan inside. The Huanggu clan ancestor looked up at the furious Huang Tianba. Not only was fear absent in his eyes, he even laughed complacently. "Ha ha ha, Huang Tianba. I can give a reason why you won't want to kill me, unless you want your precious great-granddaughter to die." Huang Tianba's expression changed immediately with that. He glared at the ancestor of the Huanggu clan and roared out, "Bastard, what did you do to her?" Even Jianchen's expression took a turn for the worse with that. "Ha ha ha ha, Huang Tianba, I'll tell you since you want to know." His face was filled with smugness. Even after falling into Jianchen's hands, he did not fear losing his life. "I've cast an ancient secret technique on the soul of your precious great-granddaughter long ago. I've left behind an imprint that entwines our fates in her soul. If you kill me, the imprint will erupt and kill her as well, wiping out her soul. Huang Tianba, kill me if you want your great-granddaughter to die as well." With that, Huang Tianba and Jianchen's faces both darkened in expression. If that truly was the case, they dared not kill him. "Senior Huang Tianba, I'll let you into the artifact space to remove the seal first. I'll immediately go check on Huang Wan and see if that really is the case," Jianchen emotionlessly said to Huang Tianba. He then used the saint artifact to suck him away, before he could even object. At the same time, he contacted the artifact spirit to get Hong Lian and He Yu to remove Huang Tianba's seal. Jianchen obviously would not let the ancestor of the Huanggu clan go either. He also sucked him away, but his treatment in the artifact space would be a whole different story. The members of the Huanggu clan stood in the surroundings stunned. All of them experienced mixed expressions. None of them had thought that their ancestor would actually do something so treacherous to the Huang family, a family they were always on good terms with. All of them were extremely shocked and struggled to accept this, feeling extremely heavy inside. They dared not show any disrespect to Jianchen. Although they did not know about Jianchen as well as their ancestor, they had heard about him at the very least, and knew that Jianchen was not someone their clan could agitate. Not to mention, their strongest member, their ancestor, just had his legs cleaved off, which deterred them from acting recklessly before Jianchen even more. With a dark face, Jianchen's eyes swept over all of the clansmen of the Huanggu clan. Whoever he stared at felt like a sharp sword was poised against them. They shivered inside, all lowering their heads. They were all completely unsettled. Jianchen did not make it difficult for these people. He understood that they had no clue about this matter at all, and knew nothing of what their ancestor had done. Afterward, Jianchen expanded his presence straight into the ground, finding the tunnel leading to the room where Huang Wan was. He then climbed down it. Huang Wan sat in the middle of the sealed room. Dazzling water blue light lit up her surroundings, making her seem sacred and dignified, like a god. The surroundings of the room were filled with droplets of crystal-clear water. Each droplet radiated with a blue glow, dyeing the entire room a deep blue. It was rather pretty. There were a few droplets of water that drifted about, slowly rotating around Huang Wan. They were like energetic fairies, filled with beauty. Huang Wan's presence was countless times greater than before. The 5-colored rainbow clouds that had appeared several days ago were because of her. She was no longer a heaven saint master anymore, but a saint ruler. The hidden potential of Huang Wan's water spirit's body was fully unlocked as she reached saint ruler. It was truly the water spirit's body now. She was like the mother of water, extremely close with the water-attributed energy in the world. She could control it as she wished, at a proficiency that no one could rival. Chapter 1068. A hidden crisis. Suddenly, the water-attributed energy in the room began to pulse violently. Even the droplets of water that floated about like fairies lost their ability to levitate, falling out of the air and splattering on the floor. The water-attributed energy in the world suddenly became extremely unstable. Huang Wan slowly opened her eyes. She glanced past the water droplets with her bewitching eyes as she furrowed her brows. Odd. Why do I suddenly feel like I have far less control over the water-attributed energy, and that I feel like I'm losing control inside? Huang Yuan murmured. She pondered and seemed to realize something very quickly. An idea flashed through her head as she mumbled to herself. Is it because of the cultivation method? Did that old bastard not give me the true scripture of the aquatic sunflower? The more Huang Yuan thought, the more she believed that to be the case. She gradually became solemn as a result, but she soon recovered her cool. She calmed down once more and said, "It doesn't matter anymore whether that old bastard has given me the true thing or not. I've reached Saint Ruler now, and I'm countless times more powerful than a Heaven Saint Master. Once that old bastard comes, I'll put up a desperate fight. Even if I have to lose my life as the price, I won't let him have it easy. As long as the news of what happened here makes it out, the clan will definitely find a way to save great-grandfather." Determination flowed in Huang Yuan's eyes. She had already made up her mind about her death. She no longer yearned for a free life like before, because she knew that it was probably impossible. Suddenly, a rumble began to ring out. The heavy door began to slowly open. Huang Yuan immediately dismissed her thoughts, and her eyes narrowed at that moment. Dense killing intent flickered in her eyes. She knew the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had come. If she wanted to heavily injure someone more powerful than her, she needed to attack with everything she had when he was unaware, catching him off guard. Otherwise, she would definitely fall to a disadvantage in an open battle. The dense and pure energy in the room began to surge. A blue sword 2 fingers wide had already appeared in Huang Yuan's hand. It glowed with a bright blue light, and through the light, the surface of the sword rippled unceasingly. At this moment, the door of the room had opened by a portion. It was pitch black outside, so all that could be seen was a black figure standing silently outside. His appearance was unclear. Over the past years, only one person ever walked through that doorway, and that person was the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. As a result, Huang Yuan treated the figure as the ancestor. So before the door had completely opened, she stabbed out. The strike was Huang Yuan's most powerful attack after charging up. It was everything she had, pushing her strength of the first heavenly layer past the limits. The sword shot through the air, and immediately began to shine brightly, becoming as dazzling as the sun. It dyed the dim room blue, as powerful ripples of energy pulsed from the sword. It caused the surrounding space to distort as black cracks immediately appeared. They were cracks in space. Huang Yuan discovered that the water-attributed saint force within her began to pulse in an unstable manner as she stabbed out, vaguely feeling like she had lost control. However, she could no longer bother with that feeling anymore. She devoted all of her attention to the attack, trying to deal a heavy blow by catching the ancestor off guard. She only wished to injure him, and had no hopes of killing him. The black figure in the doorway did not panic, nor did he dodge or block. He remained where he was in the same position. Not even energy leaked from him. Huang Yuan's strike was like a lightning bolt, arriving before him instantly. She mercilessly thrust it toward the chest of the figure. And the exact moment the sword came in contact with the figure, Huang Yuan discovered through the dazzling blue light that the clothes and stature of the person before her did not seem to match the Huanggu clan ancestors. However, she had no more time to think about that. Boom! Huang Yuan's full-powered thrust viciously struck the chest of the figure. Pure water-attributed energy immediately erupted, and with a deep sound, the residual energy slammed into the surrounding walls as a terrifying wave. It caused the entire room to violently tremble. The room probably would have collapsed if it were not for its toughness. Huang Yuan immediately rejoiced when she saw how her attack had landed precisely on his body. However, her joy quickly disappeared. She could feel that her sword had failed to pierce him in the way she had imagined. Instead, she seemed to have struck a steel board, and the powerful reaction force numbed her hand. Huang Yuan's heart sank. She thought that the ancestor had probably come prepared, so her full-powered attack was unable to cause any harm to him. Yuaner! At this moment, Huang Yuan heard a gentle voice. She immediately jolted in a violent fashion. She was just too familiar with this voice. It would even appear in her memories quite often. Huang Wan stared at the figure in shock. She finally saw the person's appearance through the dazzling blue light of the sword. It was an extremely familiar face. Although it had changed slightly from several years ago, the face was still the same one burned deeply into Huang Wan's mind. The one she could not forget even after an eternity. Huang Wan became stunned as she stared at the person she thought of the most. She could not come back to her senses even after a very long while. Her heart beat furiously as her body trembled uncontrollably. Two clear streaks of tears slowly ran down her cheeks from her bright eyes. "JJ Jinshin," she said with a trembling voice. She struggled to believe that the person before her right now was Jin Chun, who she missed most, and not the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. At that moment, she felt like everything was a dream, and she no longer experiencing reality. "Luaner, it's been hard for you during these past few years," Jinshin softly replied. His voice was extremely gentle as his heart ached. The sword remained pressed against Jinshin's chest. Huang Wan's attack from before had obliterated Jinshin's clothes, but it failed to harm him at all. "Jinshin, is it really you?" Huang Wan asked again with a trembling voice. Fat tears rolled down her cheeks, flowing faster and faster. The sword in her hand also fell as it trembled. "Luaner, it's me. I've come to save you. You're safe now. No one will ever be able to harm you again in the future." Jinshin stepped forward and tightly embraced Huang Wan. He felt like his heart was being stabbed inside. He dared not to imagine exactly what Huang Wan had gone through, exactly what burden she felt, or exactly what suffering she had endured after being trapped for all these years. There were countless people who faced horrible fates on the Tianyuan continent, with many more people who suffered even worse than Huang Wan. However, Huang Wan bore an extremely important status in Jinshin's heart. He would not allow her to suffer any harm. The sword in Huang Wan's hand slowly disappeared, and the coldness on her face gradually vanished, replaced by a gentleness that had not been seen for several years. Even her icy gaze began to thaw. She then cried out Jinshin's name, before lunging into his bosom, breaking into tears. She seemed to be releasing all the pressure and grievances she had suffered over the years. Jinshin embraced Huang Wan tightly. He could feel his clothes dampen from Huang Wan's tears. His heart ached from what Huang Wan had gone through. But at the same time, he felt some joy. He was happy that Huang Wan had now become a saint ruler. Suddenly Jinshin's face froze. He gently furrowed his brows. He could feel that the energy within Huang Wan was surging violently, as if it was not under her control at all. It rampaged about before surging out of her body into the room in the form of a bright blue light. Huang Wan was encased by the light of the leaking energy, becoming extremely blinding. "Luaner, what is happening?" Jinshin asked in concern. He felt an ill omen about what was unfolding before him. Huang Wan gradually calmed down and raised her head from Jinshin's chest. Her eyes were no longer cold, now filled with gentleness as she looked at Jinshin. "Jinshin, it's probably because the scripture of the aquatic sunflower from that old bastard has problems. It's very hard for me to control the power within me now. I feel like all the energy is about to leave my body and break free from my control." With that, Huang Wan placed her head against Jinshin's chest once more. Her face was filled with satisfaction and happiness, as if she did not care about the leaking of her energy at all. She had made up her mind about her death long ago. She no longer had any attachments in the world except to Jinshin and Huang Tianba. Since her great-grandfather had been saved now, and the person who she missed the most was with her, she felt very satisfied. She did not care about being a saint ruler at all. All she needed was Jinshin, and she felt like she had the world. She did not care about anything else. "I'll definitely make that old bastard wish he was better off dead for treating you like this." Jinshin's face was pale white. He was panicking since he was unable to stop the energy from leaking out of Huang Wan. Suddenly, a golden streak of light shot out from the center of Jinshin's eyebrows. The saint artifact had emerged from his sea of consciousness, levitating in the room in the form of a fist-sized golden tower as it spun slowly. "Luaner, I'll send you into the artifact space. Don't worry, I'll definitely be able to find the method to deal with this from that old bastard," Jinshin comforted. He intended on entering the artifact space with Huang Wan. "Jinshin, Just as he was about to enter the artifact space, a woman's voice rang through the room. It was extremely pleasant, and seemed to be filled with unlimited charm. It was bewitching. A gleam of light flashed through Jianshen's eyes, and he suddenly raised his head. Before him, the illusionary figure of the sea goddess had silently appeared at some point unbeknownst to him. Chapter 1069. Huang Wuan surrenders her body. Your Majesty, why have you appeared here? Jianshen asked in surprise. He was in great shock. If I didn't appear now, your friend would be completely doomed. Once the energy within her, and the potential of her water spirit's body leaks away, she will become immortal. It would be a waste for a great water spirit's body, the sea goddess said with a gentle but dignified voice as she stared at Huang Wuan. Jianshen immediately began to panic when he heard that Huang Wuan could become immortal, as well as the fact that energy was leaking out of her body unceasingly. He hurriedly requested, Your Majesty, please save Wuaner. The sea goddess pointed with a finger. There was no earth-shaking presence that erupted. It just seemed to freeze time. As she extended her finger, the pure water-attributed energy in the room immediately froze. Even the energy leaking out of Huang Wuan seemed to be obstructed by a mysterious power, sealing it firmly within her. Huang Wuan's face immediately changed when she sensed the change in her body. She was astounded. She felt like all the energy within her belonged to someone else in that instance. She had no control over it. Although she had been losing control over the energy before, she still maintained some authority. She was just unable to stop it from leaking out. Now, she had completely lost all authority. As if all the energy she had gathered arduously from cultivation in the past years had become someone else's. Freezing the pure energy with a single gesture, the sea goddess looked to Jianshen. Jin Kim, I can only forcefully control some of the power with my soul and prevent it from leaking out anymore. If you want to save her, it'll all depend on you yourself. Jianshen could not help but feel relieved now that Huang Wuan was temporarily out of danger. He said, Your Majesty, just how do I make it so that Huang Wuan retains her strength? Is it finding the correct cultivation method? The sea goddess shook her head. I know a little about the scripture of the aquatic sunflower she cultivates. It was created by a prodigy several hundreds of thousands of years ago. In the very beginning, there was only one version. It was a water-attributed cultivation method that belonged to the upper levels, extremely wondrous in nature. The prodigy reached Saint King in just 1,000 years using this method. Afterward, he came across a woman who possessed the water spirit's body. The speed at which she practiced water-attributed cultivation methods completely astounded the prodigy, so he became interested in her. Approaching her intentionally, he quickly became her cultivation partner. As he came in contact with the water spirit's body many times, the prodigy gained an even clearer understanding regarding the special constitution. He used his supreme talent to create a second version of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower in a few decades, and then passed it on to his cultivation partner to practice. The woman did not doubt him at all, and began cultivating the second version of the cultivation method. However, what she never realized was that the second version was not a powerful cultivation method, but a cultivation method that was made for the water spirit's body. After practicing it, she lost control over all the energy within her, and even the potential from the water spirit's body was taken from her. She became just like your friend right now. The prodigy absorbed all the pure water-attributed energy from his partner, as well as the potential of the water spirit's body, turning it into his own. Not only did his strength skyrocket, even his talent in cultivation greatly increased. He became a saint emperor on the Tianyuan continent in the end. As for his partner, she lost all her powers and turned into a mortal. She was reduced to an old white-haired woman from her beauty before and committed suicide from heartache. The sea goddess paused slightly there. She looked at Jianshen before continuing. You should understand now. Your friend has practiced the second version of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower. The person who gave it to her wants to use the same special method as that prodigy to absorb your friend's energy and potential and turn it into his own. Jianshen and Huang Wuan both fell silent because of what the sea goddess said. and they remained silent for a very long time. They felt greatly influenced by the sea goddess story. They all felt sorry for the woman who was harmed by her husband, feeling deeply sympathetic. At the same time, Jian Chen's killing intent for the ancestor of the Huanggu clan grew even denser. It reached an absolute limit, except he did not unleash it here. "Your Majesty, what happened to the prodigy in the end?" Jian Chen inquired. He cared for the answer very much. After reaching Saint Emperor, the prodigy became embroiled in a large-scale battle and was killed, said the sea goddess. Jian Chen was satisfied by the outcome of the prodigy. Although he possessed great talent, he was evil-hearted. He ruthlessly harmed his wife who trusted him. He deserved more than death. That woman is so pitiful. Huang Wuan was filled with sympathy. Also as a woman, and in possession of the water spirit's body, she felt deep pain for what the woman had gone through. "There is nothing pitiful if you live in this world," the sea goddess said. Her voice was gentle, but it was emotionlessly cold. She was one of the 4 champions from ancient times, and had emerged step by step from a ruthless past. She had just seen too many things like this. The sea goddess continued after some silence. "Jian Chen, there's only one method to save your friend, to let her keep her water spirit's body and her current strength." "What's the method?" Jian Chen gathered his attention, and quickly threw the story regarding the scripture of the aquatic sunflower to the back of his mind. He had a deep understanding regarding the brutality of the continent, so it was difficult for his mental state to be affected by a few stories. At most he would just form some feelings for it. Huang Wuan also turned to the sea goddess. She did not know the sea goddess' true identity right now, but she clearly paid much attention since the sea goddess could resolve her problem. Although Huang Wuan had opened her mind a lot more, and no longer viewed her strength with much importance, she also understood very well that she needed to have enough strength to stay beside Jian Chen. Her lifespan would greatly decrease if she lost all her powers and became immortal, and she would age as a result. If it was possible, she also wished to retain her strength, so that she could be with Jian Chen forever. The sea goddess did not reply immediately. Her gaze became rather complicated, and she only spoke after hesitating. "Jian Chen, if you want to resolve the problem with your friend's body, you need to use an even greater force to suppress the potential that's being stripped away. And then you will redeposit it into her with my assistance from the side, thus rebuilding the water spirit's body." Jian Chen became a little troubled. "Your Majesty, the power I use is too great. Huang Wuan's body may not be able to withstand it." "Your power is indeed very great, something that ordinary people cannot withstand, but don't worry. I have a way of weakening your power. The water spirit's body is no ordinary constitution. If the two of you come together, you can control the power so that it enters slowly from the lower body, and then have it pause in the dantian of the water spirit's body. The pure water-attributed energy will neutralize your brutal energy. Coupled with my help, she should be able to endure your power," the sea goddess explained. "What? We have to use a method where we come together?" Jian Chen immediately became surprised as disbelief flooded his face. He doubted what he heard right now. Huang Wuan also became bright red in an instant. She peeked at Jian Chen from the corner of her eye before quickly burrowing her head into Jian Chen's chest. She hugged him even tighter. "That's the only method I can think of. There's nothing else other than that." The sea goddess stared deeply into Jian Chen's eyes. "BB, but that'll harm Wanner." Jian Chen hesitated as he wavered. He could not make up his mind. At the same time, he could clearly feel Huang Wuan against his chest, and he felt like he was rapidly heating up. Huang Wuan slowly raised her head. Some affection filled her bright eyes as she glanced at Jian Chen in an infatuated manner. She said, "Jian Chen, I belong to you. Both my body and my soul belong to only you. In this world, only you are worthy of me. I'm not afraid of being harmed." Huang Wuan's breath became rather haggard as she spoke, and her heart beat even heavier. She slowly unbuttoned her dress, and it immediately slid down her body, revealing her white skin. "Luana!" Jian Chen bit his lip as he looked at Huang Wuan's enchanting, hourglass figure. Although he knew that Huang Wuan was deeply in love with him, he felt like he was just taking advantage of the situation and the circumstances to become one with Huang Wuan. Jianshen, I only have you in my heart. I've belonged to you since a very long time ago. I love you very much. Take me. I want to truly become your woman. Huang Luan stared at Jianshen with deep affection as she slowly began to take off Jianshen's clothes. Huang Luan was clearly extremely straightforward with her emotions. She did not suppress or avoid them purposefully, completely different to ordinary girls. Jianshen slowly closed his eyes. He seemed to be in a great dilemma inside, but when he opened his eyes once more, there was no longer any hesitation, only determination. Bang! With a jolt, a powerful force erupted from him and turned his clothes into shreds, revealing his almost perfect figure. He then tightly hugged Huang Luan's burning body. At the same time, he brought his lips to meet Huang Luan's cherry lips. Two naked people coiled together 1,000 meters underground. Chapter 1070. Entwined fates. The light that had dyed the room a water blue had already disappeared. It was pitch black currently, so dark that nothing could be seen. Only enchanting, arousing sounds constantly rang out. Jianshen remained clear-headed in the room. He carefully guided slivers of chaotic force slowly out of his dantian and into Huang Luan's body through a special method. He then had them stop in Huang Luan's dantian for a while according to the sea goddess method. Huang Luan's water spirit's body was indeed much more wondrous than any ordinary constitution. Even though she had lost control of the pure, water-attributed energy, it was no weaker than before. He could indeed feel the brutal, destructive presence of the chaotic force being neutralized by the energy when it paused in her dantian, constantly weakening. Jianshen, I will now tell you the detailed method on how to rebuild the water spirit's body. You must do everything according to my instructions and do nothing wrong, or the reconstruction will probably be impossible. The sea goddess voice rang in Jianshen's head. Afterward, she extended a finger, and the frozen pure energy in the room immediately began to surge toward Huang Luan's body, before disappearing into her. All the energy and potential of the water spirit's body that had drifted out returned to Huang Luan's body under the control of the sea goddess. Ever since she began to practice the second version of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower, Huang Luan's water spirit's body had been ruined and was about to collapse. If the sea goddess had not arrived in time, she probably would have lost all of her powers and would have been reduced to a mortal. The sea goddess passed on the method to reconstruct the water spirit's body to Jianshen, and then assisted him from one side. She used her powerful soul that belonged in the origin realm, as well as her supreme control over water-attributed energy, to rebuild the water spirit's body with Jianshen. The constitution was something unique that would rarely appear, even over the span of 100,000 years. It was completely innate, not something that could be achieved through cultivation. Huang Luan's water spirit's body was about to collapse, and her energy and potential had already begun to disperse. Rebuilding the constitution under such a situation was undoubtedly an extremely difficult matter, even impossible. The water spirit's body was no ordinary constitution. Even well-versed saint emperors would have no idea what to do with it, let alone rebuild it. However, it was fortunate that Huang Luan received the help from the sea goddess this time, which was why the constitution could be recovered. The sea goddess was one of the 4 supreme experts from ancient times after all, having reached the legendary origin realm. As a supreme existence in regards to water, no one could rival her understanding of the water spirit's body. The reconstruction process was successful. Jianshen did what the sea goddess instructed and followed every step in detail carefully. Finally, after one whole day, Huang Luan recovered her water spirit's body. Now that the problems in her body were completely removed, Huang Luan's senses of water immediately reached an unprecedented level. She could also feel that the compatibility between her body and water-attributed energy was unbelievable. Right now, she only needed a single thought to instantly gather all the water-attributed energy in the radius of several dozen kilometers, all of which would be under her control. She had experienced this before, but it was never as powerful as right now. Not only did the Constitution provide Huang Luan with almost heaven-defying talent in cultivation, It also granted her supreme control over water-attributed energy, as well as a future of infinite potential. The chaotic force that entered Huang Yuan did not return to Jianshen's body. It was permanently deposited in Huang Yuan's body, under the sea goddess control, allowing Huang Yuan to refine it into strands of pure, water-attributed saint force. It became her own power. Although not a lot of chaotic force had entered Huang Yuan's body, each strand was composed of vast quantities of energy, so just that tiny amount caused Huang Yuan's strength to skyrocket. She reached the third heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. However, that was not all that happened. Even her water spirit's body benefited, increasing the toughness of her body. It was still far from Jianshen's chaotic body, but no one else could rival it even if they possessed a similar level of cultivation. Even the pure, water-attributed saint force within her seemed to undergo some minute changes. The problems with Huang Yuan's water spirit's body were finally resolved completely, allowing Jianshen to relax. The two of them finally separated, and they pulled out clothes from their space rings to put on at the same time. What differed was they felt inside. Jianshen was strewn between different emotions, while Huang Yuan felt pleasant, satisfied and happy. Jianshen. Huang Yuan could not help but call out Jianshen's name softly after putting on her clothes. She stuck to Jianshen's body once more, laying on his chest silently with a satisfied and happy smile. She was like glue. Jianshen gently wrapped his arm around Huang Yuan's figure, and slowly inhaled the fragrance of Huang Yuan. He knew that Huang Yuan had truly become his woman now, both on paper and in actuality. At the same time, it was the second woman he had entwined with. The first was the cold, prideful beauty, the heavenly enchantress. The two of them only embraced each other due to their special circumstance, because of the fact that their lives were threatened. As for Huang Yuan, it was the same case, but it was different from the first time as well. Huang Yuan was passionate and threw herself at Jianshen, offering her body to him. Sigh, Jianshen exhaled inside. He could not help but think of everything that had happened in the past. The scene where he accidentally came across Huang Yuan in the river outside Walorant City. Jianshen could not help but emotionally sigh inside as he thought about how he first met Huang Yuan. Who would have thought that the girl he had accidentally met would end up with a relationship like this with him? Suddenly, Jianshen seemed to think of something. He quickly dismissed his thoughts and said to Huang Yuan, "Yuaner is the ancient secret technique that binds your fate, cast by the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, still present on you?" Huang Yuan nodded and said nothing else. Jianshen's heart slightly sank after confirming that it was still there. He then looked at the sea goddess. "Your Majesty, may I ask if you have some understanding regarding these types of secret techniques, and if you are able to undo them or not?" Jianshen did not feel indebted to the sea goddess, even though she had helped him a lot. He knew he would pay her back in the future, when the worldly ebb of the sea realm occurs. "I can help your friend reconstruct her body in my current form, but I am unable to break the secret technique. However, it is not difficult to remove it. You can take her to a protector. There should be people there who can manage," said the sea goddess. Afterward, Jianshen and Huang Yuan bid farewell to the sea goddess before leaving the underground room together. They discovered that a large portion of the Huanggu clan people had left once they returned to the surface. Only a small portion of old people remained. While Jianshen was underground, the clansmen moved a large portion of their clan away, fearing Jianshen's rage because of Huang Tianba and Huang Yuan's sufferings, hoping that they could save at least just a few people. Only a few older people who were loyal to the family and did not fear death remained. If it was before, Jianshen would definitely vent his anger on these people, or even wipe out the entire clan. However, he was now a saint king, and his mentality had undergone some changes. Coupled with the fact that the clansmen had no idea that Huang Tianba had been trapped, he did not make it difficult for them. He left with Huang Yuan, returning to the Huang family. The seal within Huang Tianba was removed by He Yi. Together with the personal treatment from the artifact spirit, Huang Tianba recovered extremely quickly, having returned to peak condition long ago. The Huanggu clan ancestor thrown into the artifact space by Jianshen was also brutally tortured by Huang Tianba, making him feel like he was better off dead. However, His life was not threatened due to the secret technique he had cast on Huang Wuan. Huang Tianba and Huang Wuan returned to the Huang family, and the news of them being trapped in the Huanggu clan quickly spread through the entire family. The news immediately caused a great uproar. Afterward, Huang Tianba took the clan treasure, the cylinder Bao, with him, personally leading group of experts to the Huanggu clan in a threatening manner. He swore to wipe out the Huanggu clan, to make it vanish from the continent. Meanwhile, Jianchen and Huang Wuan stayed at the Huang family in ease. They did not pay any attention to Huang Tianba's actions. Once Huang Tianba returned, Jianchen learned that Huang Tianba had used the cylinder Bao to destroy the region where the clan had settled down, and that the remaining elderly members of the Huanggu clan were attacked collectively by the experts he had brought along. He killed them all, and also sent half of the Huang family experts to pursue the group of people who had fled from the Huanggu clan. He wanted to end the Huanggu clan completely. Jianchen did not bother too much with these matters. Although he knew that many of the people were innocent, the concepts of innocence and benevolence did not exist on this continent. If the Huang family did not completely wipe out the Huanggu clan, the Huang family would face its end once the remaining members of the Huanggu clan rose up and became peak-level experts. Chapter 1071. Going to Mercenary City. The sun was blood-red as it neared the horizon. Jianchen stood straight, like a sword, at the peak of a range of mountains in white robes. He stared at the red clouds, as if he was in a trance, without moving at all. A sea of white clouds floated beneath him. Where he currently stood was the tallest mountain peak in the mountain range where the Huang family resided. The mountains were so steep and dangerous that they were unscalable. The wild wind violently buffeted him high up in the air, whistling past his ears. Coupled with it were the roars of beasts from the forests in the distance, sounding like the dreadful cries of ghosts, as they fused together with the wind. A white figure quickly shot over from the distance, arriving on the mountain peak, where Jianchen stood in an instant. Afterward, she walked up to his side and gently grabbed Jianchen's arm, resting her head on his shoulder. Her face was filled with happiness and satisfaction. She was Huang Wuan. Huang Wuan was dressed especially prettily today, wearing makeup to accentuate her alluring beauty. Her eyes were bright and seemed to possess a wondrous charm, possessing some grace in her purity. It was enchanting. Her glossy, black hair fell down her shoulders like a waterfall. She had worn a white luxurious dress on purpose today, so she looked like a goddess. Standing next to Jianchen, who was also in white robes, the two of them possessed the aura of an immortal couple. Huang Wuan leaned close to Jianchen's bosom. She was filled with happiness and joy, watching the sun set with Jianchen. Neither one said anything. As the blood-red sunlight gradually faded, darkness gradually descended upon the dusk. The moment when the world was about to be engulfed by darkness, the whistling of wind vibrated from afar, and a figure shot over like a comet. He made his way toward Jianchen with lightning speed, arriving in just a few seconds. "My beloved junior, why have you called me here?" Huang Tianba chuckled with a smile. He had even begun to refer to Jianchen as his junior instead of brother like before. He felt extremely happy, especially when he saw how Huang Wuan and Jianchen were together. Huang Wuan became embarrassed with how she stuck to Jianchen so intimately after her great-grandfather arrived. She hesitantly let go of Jianchen's arm, before glancing at Huang Tianba with a slight blush. She gently said, "Great-grandfather." Huang Tianba chuckled even more when he saw how Huang Wuan became embarrassed like a little girl. He nodded but did not say anything more. Jianchen slowly turned around and looked at Huang Tianba calmly. He smiled. "Senior Huang, I've called you here this time because I have something important to discuss with you." Huang Tianba immediately became stern when he heard how it was important. He said, "Please continue." Jianchen continued, "Senior Huang, I want to take you to Mercenary City and get the barrier spirit to invoke the mysteries of the world, so you can comprehend them and thus break through. Are you willing to come?" "What? To get the barrier spirit of Mercenary City to invoke the mysteries of the world, so I can comprehend and break through?" Huang Tianba became surprised. He stared fixedly at Jian Chun, wide-eyed, as disbelief flooded his face. He felt shocked inside, struggled to convince himself that that was what Jian Chun had said. Huang Tianba also knew a little regarding the barrier spirit of Mercenary City. He did not know a lot, but he did know one thing. The barrier spirit had existed since ancient times, and was an existence that had survived through the ages. It was extremely powerful, always playing the role of the Mercenary City's protector god. What he found difficult to believe was that Jian Chun could actually get the barrier to invoke the mysteries of the world and assist people in making breakthroughs. It was just too shocking. No similar rumors had ever appeared on the continent, let alone the fact that anyone knew the barrier spirit could do such things. Senior Huang, are you willing to come? Jian Chun seemed to smile at Huang Tianba through his eyes. I'm willing. Of course I'm willing. How could I miss something so good? Huang Tianba returned to his senses and hurriedly replied. He was afraid that his late reply would make him miss out on such a rare opportunity. Huang Tianba left afterward as he was ravished by joy. He handed over some matters within the clan, before leaving with Jian Chun on the morning of the next day. He went with Jian Chun, making their way to the Changyang clan in Lore City. Huang Wan left with Jian Chun. Although the problems with her water spirit's body had been resolved, the imprint left in her head by the Huanggu clan ancestor still remained. While Jian Chun stayed at the Huang family, he had visited the Huanggu clan ancestor trapped within the saint artifact. He wanted to learn the method of releasing the seal from him. However, he was a sly old fox who had lived for over 2,000 years, so he knew that the secret technique was the only thing keeping him alive. How could he tell someone else how to release it so easily? In the end, Jian Chun failed to learn about the method of release from the old man, no matter what he tried. Jian Chun dared not harm the life of the Huanggu clan ancestor, due to the restrictions of the secret technique. With no other choice, he left the old man be. He would come back to deal with him, after he found a way to remove the seal from Huang Wan. Jian Chun returned to the Changyang clan very quickly with Huang Wan and Huang Tianba. The two of them had stopped being outsiders to the rest of the clan long ago, since they had gotten to know each other quite some time ago. As a result, they were warmly welcomed as soon as they arrived. Bai Hai warmly welcomed them in particular. As he was good friends with Huang Tianba, he was pulled aside to drink as soon as they met. Jian Chun stayed in the Changyang clan for one day, before leaving for Mercenary City with Bai Hai, Huang Tianba, Yang Ling, Huang Wan and Uncle Chang. They traveled through a spatial gate constructed by Rui Jin. The people beside Jian Chun right now were only the people he trusted most. There was also Jetta Tai, but Jian Chun still did not completely trust him, which was why he did not take Jetta Tai with him this time. As for Changyang Zhu Yinkong, a seal remained in his head, so he was unable to increase his strength at all. It would only be harmful to him otherwise. Big brother, you finally come. As soon as Jian Chun arrived in Mercenary City, Xiaoling appeared before him in an illusionary form. Perhaps because she saw Jian Chun, her pure face was filled with happiness. Jian Chun could help but smile when he saw Xiaoling. He had begun to view Xiaoling as his own younger sister since long ago. Xiaoling, how's Ming Dong? The 3 pieces of beast fur in your friend's hand are not simple, big brother. The mysteries of the world are actually hidden within them. I used my own powers to awaken them inside. And then with some hard work, I invoked the mysteries of the world on the side as well. So your friend finally reached Saint Ruler. However, he's cultivating right now, said Xiaoling. She was proud of herself. Ming Dong's also become a Saint Ruler, murmured Jian Chun. He felt happy for Ming Dong inside. Jian Chun, who are you talking to? A pleasant voice rang out from beside him. Huang Wan asked Jian Chun as she hung onto Jian Chun's arm, her eyes shining with curiosity. It was not just her. Even Huang Tianba, Bai Hai, Yang Ling and Chang Wuji stared at him in amazement. Jian Chun knew that they could not see Xiaoling, but he did not explain his actions. He said to Xiaoling, they're all friends and senior of me. I hope Xiaoling can assist them in their cultivation in the future. Xiaoling obediently nodded. Yes. Big brother, don't worry. Xiaoling will definitely work hard to increase their strength. With that, she waved her hand, and Jian Chen's group immediately felt everything go black. They had been dragged underground by Xiaoling's abilities, and even Rui Jin came along. When the scene before them brightened up once more, they discovered that they had arrived in a completely sealed room. There were no cracks on the wall at all, completely flawless like nature. There was not even a door out. Jianshan looked around a little. He knew that the room was completely created from energy, probably prepared by Xiaoling specially for Bai Hai and the others. Big brother, you can cultivate here in the future. Xiaoling will invoke the mysteries of the world for you, but comprehending them will completely depend on you. Xiaoling's illusionary body reappeared before Jianshan as she levitated in the air. This time, Bai Hai, Huang Tianba, Yang Ling, Huang Wuan, and Chang Wuji's attention were all drawn toward her at the same time. They could all see her. My dear Junior, is this the barrier spirit of Mercenary City? Huang Tianba could not help but ask as he stared unblinkingly at Xiaoling. He was filled with curiosity. Jianshan nodded before introducing everyone to Xiaoling. He left Huang Tianba, Bai Hai, Yang Ling, and Chang Wuji there. Jianshan also took the 3 pieces of beast fur from Ming Dong before handing them to Chang Wuji. He wished that Chang Wuji could reach Saint Ruler as soon as possible. Chang Wuji's talent was relatively ordinary. He had not reached Saint Ruler even after close to 1,000 years. Now, due to the fact that he was too old and extremely close to the end of his life, the effects of heavenly resources would be minimal. The assistance from Xiaoling and the 3 pieces of beast fur was his final chance at reaching Saint Ruler. If he could not break through even under such circumstances, it would be impossible for him in the future. Afterward, Jianshan asked Xiaoling whether she could remove the secret technique in Huang Wuan's head. The outcome, however, was extremely disappointing. Xiaoling was an expert of the origin realm, but she was not an omnipotent god. It was impossible to break such a profound ancient secret technique planted directly on a person's soul, even if someone had heavenly abilities. Xiaoling was in the origin realm. Her battle prowess was extremely great, and she was basically invincible on the Tianyuan continent. However, she was just too negligent. Since the ancient times, she had mostly spent her time sleeping. The number of abilities she knew were just too few, so she could do nothing about the secret technique that entwined the fates of 2 people. Compared to the sea goddess, Xiaoling might have been slightly more powerful, but she was nowhere near the sea goddess in terms of knowledge, experience, and secret techniques. For certain matters, Xiaoling could not even compare to the mercenaries who had spent some time wandering the Tianyuan continent. Chapter 1072. Comprehending the mysteries of the world. Jianshan could not help but become slightly dejected seeing how Xiaoling could do nothing. He sighed inside. Looks like I can only go ask Senior Tianjian and the people of the Protector clans in the future. I hope I can obtain the method to remove the seal from Huang Wuan from them. Jianshan and Huang Wuan stayed behind to get Xiaoling to invoke the mysteries of the world for them. Although Jianshan possessed the strength of a 7th heavenly layer Saint King with his emperor armament, his comprehension of the mysteries of the world remained at the level of a 7th heavenly layer Saint Ruler. He possessed the ability to kill Saint Kings, but he was never able to rip open space gates, always requiring Rui Jin and Heiyu to assist him. Jianshan wanted to make up for this weakness as soon as possible right now. He did not wish for his comprehension to reach the same level of strength he possessed, only so that it could reach the level of Saint Kings. That way, he would be able to create his own space gates. It was evident that Jianshan's talent could be described as unprecedented. Both his cultivation speed and rate of comprehension was supreme. He submerged all his attention into the mysteries of the world invoked by Xiaoling, fusing it into his soul, so he could comprehend it closely. Ordinary people would devote all their efforts into the comprehension for the mysteries of the world. The mysteries they comprehended would be hazy, uncertain and illusionary, like an image that was concealed by mist. They needed to get past this mist first, to see the reality within, if they wanted to achieve any comprehension. Now that Jianshan and the others possessed Xiaoling's assistance, they seemed to be able to see the image itself, able to observe it clearly. It was not concealed by any mist, nor any illusionary and uncertain obstructions. They managed to avoid many winding paths, so it was much easier for them to comprehend, compared to other saint rulers. This was not spoon-feeding them. Although the mysteries of the world were invoked by Xiaoling, they were still required to comprehend them and understand if they wanted to benefit from them. Otherwise, it would just be a waste of effort. They would gain nothing. Jian Chen, Huang Wan, Bai Hai, and Huang Tianba were completely submerged within the invoked mysteries. They felt that the mysteries of the world were so close to them. They had never remembered that the mysteries could be so close. They felt the mysteries were so clear in that moment, no longer hazy like before. In the room where Chang Wuji stayed, the 3 pieces of beast fur flew about by themselves. A profound presence radiated from them as they slowly revolved around Chang Wuji. Chang Wuji seemed like a meditating old monk, sitting there without moving at all. All his attention was submerged into them. He could feel that he seemed to vaguely understand something, but he failed to grasp onto it during the process. Yang Ling also sat there silently. He did not have the assistance of the beast furs, so he needed to work hard himself and comprehend the mysteries of the world in order to reach Saint Ruler. They all lost sense of time as they cultivated. In the blink of an eye, they had all stayed in Mercenary City for a year. All of them benefited greatly, Jian Chen in particular. He reached the 8th heavenly layer in cultivation, and was continuing toward the 9th. Bai Hai and Huang Tianba gained great benefits as well. They had reached the 6th and 5th heavenly layers respectively long ago, and were close to reaching the peak. Now with Xiaoling's help, they comprehended the mysteries of the world in the most direct way, thus improving extremely quickly. They all made a breakthrough to the next level of cultivation, reaching the 7th and 6th heavenly layers. Huang Wan had only reached Saint Ruler recently, but her strength had reached the 3rd heavenly layer, due to Jian Chen. Her foundation was nowhere as firm as Huang Tianba's or Bai Hai's, so her strength did not increase that year. She did not go without benefits, however. Although she remained at the 3rd heavenly layer, her comprehensions of the mysteries increased quite a lot. She was advancing to the 4th heavenly layer. Meanwhile, Yang Ling and Chang Wuji remained the same before, without making any advances toward Saint Ruler. At the same time, a huge divine hall levitated in the dark and cold outer space directly above the continent. It was a magnificent and extravagant structure, completely white and glowing with a pure light. It illuminated the surrounding darkness. A huge throne floated 3 meters in the air in the center of the top floor. A layer of visible moonlight force slowly coiled around it, shining with soft light, and dyeing the room white. Yu sat on the throne with the moon god's scepter in hand. She was meditating as powerful ripples of energy pulsed from her from time to time. The moonlight force around the throne was constantly absorbed by her, allowing her presence to rapidly increase. As Jian Chen and the others comprehended the mysteries of the world, through Xiaoling's help, Yu did not idle about either. She remained in the cold and cheerless divine hall, silently enduring the boredom and loneliness to work hard on increasing her strength. After the modification of her constitution with the moon essence, and gaining the cultivation method that surpassed the saint tier, Yu's rate of improvement was no slower than Huang Wan with her water spirit's body, maybe even far exceeding it. In a mere year, Yu reached the 4th cycle as a heaven saint master from the 1st cycle. If she continued like that, she would only need another half a year to reach the 6th cycle. He Yu, Hong Lian, Carolot, and Kazda Jinxiong also recovered to their peak conditions after having all their energy drained away by the bright moon divine hall a year ago. Carolot and Kazda Jinxiong left the artifact space half a year ago, returning to their clans after bidding farewell to Jian Chen. Caroliwei had also left the artifact space. She congratulated Jian Chen on the matter, with Yu obtaining the bright moon divine hall, before returning with her ancestor. However, she felt very envious when she mentioned the divine hall. Rui Jin, He Yu, and Hong Lian all remained within the artifact space. They were all at the great perfection of Saint King, and only an inch away from Saint Emperor. They needed to overcome this gap by themselves, as any help from Xiaoling was useless. A mountain range, always surrounded by poisonous mist, existed within the Karl Empire of the three great empires. It was extremely well known in the empire, where almost everyone knew about it. Not only had it existed in the empire for over 100,000 years, it had taken the lives of countless adventurous mercenaries and experts. Even saint rulers could meet their end in the mountain range. As time went on, the mountain range was labeled as a forbidden region within the Karl Empire by countless mercenaries and experts. It was named the Soul-Claiming Mountains. A deathly silence did not exist in the mountain range. Instead, it was teeming with life. Countless green vegetation grew there, even great trees that were hundreds or even thousands of years old. Magical beasts would move about from time to time in the thickets. It was no different than an ordinary forest. However, the only difference was that everything was poisonous. Poison was present everywhere. Not only were the plants poisonous, even the soil was poisonous, enough to threaten the lives of Earth's saint masters. The deeper one went into the mountain range, the poison would grow stronger and stronger, where even heaven's saint masters would struggle to stay afloat in the end. All the magical beasts that thrived there were powerful, venomous beasts without a doubt. A bare mountain peak stood in the depths of the mountain range. It was surrounded by vast quantities of poisonous mist, so dense that it had almost condensed into a liquid. Even the high-class magical beasts that thrived in the mountain range could not approach it. In the center of the mountain range existed a huge space carved out by a person. Fist-sized luminous pearls were lodged into the ceiling. They radiated with bright light and illuminated the dark cavern. A middle-aged man, who seemed to be in his 40s, sat there like a sculpture. He wore black robes. The man's appearance was ordinary, but his face was resolute. The muscles on his face seemed to be stiff, as if he never smiled. It made him seem rather straightforward at the same time. There was an extremely eye-catching scar that stretched across his forehead. It was terrifying, enough to frighten people just by looking at it. Beside him stood a 1.3-meter-long sword stuck in the soil. The sword seemed ordinary, but a vast, chilling pressure emanated from within. Suddenly, the man snapped open his eyes, and they immediately began to glow with two odd and different lights. One of the eyes was sharp, filled with vigor and was firm, while the other eye possessed a demonic light. The light flashed about the eye, as if it was a will-o-wisp jumping about. Kakakakaka, by Tao, my soul has undergone a basic fusion with yours. You can now use a portion of my powers, and you can use all of the power in my saint weapon, the heaven-quaking sword. You now possess the strength to move without restraint on the Tianyuan continent. Go deal with your matters as soon as possible. Don't forget about the promise after you finish with them. An odd, husky laughter rang through the middle-aged man's head. The voice was extremely unpleasant, like the sobs of a ghost. Chapter 1073. Changes of Hellfire City. The middle-aged man suddenly stood up, and a vast presence immediately began to radiate from him. It shook the surroundings with raw force, causing the entire mountain to shake slightly. Venerable Poisoned Word, don't worry. I am a person who keeps his word. I will do it since I've agreed to you. Once I take revenge for the devastation of the Bai family, my body will belong to you. I will not resist. Determination flowed through the man's eyes. He was not afraid of death. Kakakaka, alright, good. I trust you, but I do hope you move a little faster, so that I don't have to wait too long. The horrible, husky voice rang in Bai Dao's head again. It sounded impatient. Bai Dao said nothing. With a wave of his hand, the sword in the ground immediately erupted with extremely great energy, which collided with the mountain. With a boom, the entire cavern collapsed. The rock was actually reduced to pieces by the supreme power that erupted from the ordinary-looking sword. My dwelling, Bai Dao, you brat. Do you know that I constructed this dwelling all those years ago with so much work? Why? You've actually destroyed my dwelling. You drive me mad. The venerable Poison's Word hiding within Bai Dao's head immediately bellowed out in anger with the destruction of the cavern. Venerable Poisoned Word, you will be able to see the light of day again soon. Do you still care that much about a mere dwelling? Bai Dao said coldly and emotionlessly. He had already grasped the sword tightly in his hand. The sword was no ordinary weapon. but a king armament left behind by a saint king at great perfection. It was the heaven-quaking sword, the saint weapon of venerable Poison's word, who had once shaken up the continent 20,000 years ago. Venerable Poison's word immediately shut up because of what Bai Dao had said. Bai Dao remained silent as well. With the heaven-quaking sword in hand, he shot off like a cannonball, climbing up into the sky in an instant. He shot off into the distance after determining his directions, and immediately disappeared into the dense mist. Hellfire City was a king city in the Karl Empire. Regardless of size, area, or prosperity, it was only second to the 7 capital cities of the continent. Hellfire City possessed several tens of thousands of years of history in the Karl Empire. Its walls were entirely made from essence metal. They were extremely tough, and could resist the attacks of Class 5 magical beasts with ease. Throughout history, the walls had fended off over 100 magical beast hordes, allowing the city to come out unscathed each time. Several millions of people lived within the city, coupled with the everyday flow of people. The number of people that Hellfire City could accommodate was close to 100 million. Many experts rose from Hellfire City, since there was such a large population, along with countless clans of different sizes. The Bloodcloud clan was the most powerful clan in the city. It was originally the second greatest there, but ever since the Bai family had been wiped out in a single night 50 years ago, they had completely replaced them. They were now unquestionably the greatest clan in the city. This was because the Bloodcloud clan possessed a new saint ruler. He was not an ancestor of the clan, but a talented junior. With his supreme talent, he reached saint ruler in just a few hundred years, and he even became the disciple of an imperial protector of the empire. He was deeply valued, and was raised as a pillar of support for the future of the empire, causing the clan's status in the city to soar, becoming admired by everyone. A vast presence suddenly appeared outside the city. A figure made its way past the great walls of the city in the form of a blur. Without any decrease in speed, it flew to the center of the city with a threatening presence, alerting countless people along the way. The figure brazenly flew through a small portion of the city, and descended before a large manor in the very center of the city. It was where the Bloodcloud clan resided. The figure wore black robes and radiated with a presence so vast that it would make people suffocate. His long hair danced in the windless air as his robes fluttered as well. He stared at the manor in a daze as reminiscence filled his eyes. Deep sorrow was also present. The 4 burly guards at the entrance of the clan stared at the man in shock. Without saying anything, they ran into the clan to report what had happened. They dared not stay for even a moment longer. The presence from the man had utterly frightened them, causing their legs to tremble. They believed that they had seen quite a few experts themselves, but this was the first time they had sensed such a great presence. Vast pressure came from the presence, which made the guards feel like their souls were going to shatter. Before the guards could even report what had happened, all of the experts in the clan sensed the frighteningly vast presence as well. Immediately, an energetic and polite voice rang out from within the clan. "May I inquire who you may be to have come to my clan as a guest? I am Wuxia, the patriarch of the Bloodcloud clan. I welcome you to the Bloodcloud clan on behalf of all clansmen." A dashing, middle-aged man in golden robes slowly walked out of the manor. Although he was unhurried, each step of his covered several dozen meters. He arrived at the main entrance with a little more than 10 steps, before politely bowing to the black-robed man. Wuxia was the same genius of the clan, who had reached Saint Ruler in less than 1,000 years. He had also become a deeply valued disciple of an imperial protector of the empire. At the same time, he was the patriarch of the Bloodcloud clan. Afterward, the clan filled with blurs. Several Heaven Saint Masters, and a group of Earth Saint Masters hurried over from all directions, all gathering behind Wuxia. They stared at the black-robed man sternly, unsure about his intentions. The black-robed man stood dead straight, like a stick outside the Bloodcloud clan's doors. He stared in a daze at the 2 large words, Bloodcloud clan, written on the amethyst board above the main entrance. His expression was extremely mixed, filled with reminiscence, sorrow, and anger. "I never thought that Hellfire City would change so much after leaving for 50 years," The once prosperous clan from then has also become memories of the past. Nothing of it remains now. Nothing, murmured the black-robed man. His sorrow grew deeper and deeper, before quickly turning into an icy killing intent. In that moment, all the pain and reminiscence in his eyes disappeared. It all became abnormally cold. Suddenly, the man stabbed his sword into the ground. A terrifying storm of energy erupted, charging toward the Blood Cloud clan with an unstoppable force, as if it was under someone's control. Senior, what are your intentions? Yu Zixing paled in surprise, immediately backpedaling. At the same time, Saint Force gushed out of his body, turning into a barrier to protect himself as well as the experts of his clan. No one sustained any injuries from the terrifying storm of energy, but the main entrance and walls of the clan were not as fortunate. All of them collapsed, throwing dust into the air. Even the board hanging above the main entrance fell down. The black-robed man advanced with a single step. He threw a punch at the board as it was falling, turning it into dust. More and more people gathered from within the clan. All the guards as well as many clansmen had come, all hiding behind Yu Zixing, as they stared in shock at the collapsed walls and entrance. The disturbance at the clan alerted nearby people as well. Very soon, many people gathered from all directions to watch what was happening. There were even a few Heaven Saint Masters, hanging several hundred meters in the air, as they watched from afar. Yu Zixing's complexion became extremely horrible. He growled, I am Yu Zixing. My master is Imperial Protector Mo Jian. Senior, may I ask if my clan has offended you in any way? Please enlighten me. The man finally looked at Yu Zixing. With an icy, emotionless gaze, he said, Do you know who I am? Yu Zixing observed the man carefully, and a sliver of doubt appeared in his eyes. He said, Junior is very limited in his knowledge, so I hope Senior can forgive me. Yu Zixing dared not be impolite. He could already tell that the person before him was someone on the level of his master from presence alone. It would be extremely difficult to protect his life, even with his master, if he offended someone at a level like that. My name is Bai Dao, the black-robed man said emotionlessly. Yu Zixing immediately jolted all over when he heard the name. He became shocked as he cried out, What? Your surname is Bai. Are you a person of the Bai family? Yu Zixing's heart began to churn as great fear began to pervade his insides. The manor of his Blood Cloud clan was constructed where the Bai family originally belonged. 50 years ago, the news of how the Bai family had been wiped out in a single night shook up the entire city. Now, not only did the Blood Cloud clan replace the Bai family as the #1 clan, they even took the Bai family's territory. If a member of the Bai family with terrifying strength accidentally connected the Blood Cloud clan to the destruction of his family, Yu Zixing could not imagine the possible consequences his clan would face. Chapter 1074. Bai Dao's Revenge. Bai Dao's right eye looked rather demonic, as if a will-o-wisp was leaping about inside. He then took a step forward, and arrived before Yu Zixing in an instant. He placed the heaven-quaking sword on the shoulder of Yu Zixing. With its tremendous pressure, he said, Speak. Who was responsible for wiping out my Bai family all those years ago? I don't know. Senior, I really don't know. It has nothing to do with my Blood Cloud clan. Yu Zixing was utterly terrified. The pressure from the king armament seemed to invade his soul, and he could not even think of resisting in that moment. He was a saint ruler, but only someone who had reached that level recently. He still belonged to the first heavenly layer. A dense killing intent flashed through Bai Dao's eyes. Then is there still any use to leave you around if you don't know? With that, Bai Dao swung the heaven-quaking sword before Yu Zixing could explain, beheading him. At the same time, a great energy shot out from the sword and into Yu Zixing's head, wiping out his soul. A talented saint ruler died just like this. The light in Bai Dao's right eye danced about crazily. God damn it, you brat, why did you kill him? Didn't you hear that his master was an imperial protector of the Karl Empire? Why, you drive me insane. You're just causing problems for me. Venerable Poison Sword's enraged voice immediately rang through Bai Dao's head with the death of Yu Zixing. Bai Dao's face remained the same, completely ignoring the Venerable Poison Sword's cries. He slowly swept his gaze over the manor of the Bloodcloud clan, and he murmured, "This place belongs to the Bai family. It will always belong to the Bai family. No one can take this sacred piece of land away. I'll kill whoever does." Bai Dao spoke very softly, but it was filled with killing intent. Every member of the Bloodcloud clan heard what he said clearly. He then gazed past the people of the Bloodcloud clan and continued, "Who is the one responsible for the Bai family back then? Speak and I will spare you." Everyone was pale-faced. Their legs trembled since they were utterly frightened. No one dared to say anything. Yu Zixing was a saint ruler, yet he was slain without even being able to fight back. That affected them all greatly. Killing intent surged within Bai Dao's eyes. He murmured, "Since you don't know, you can all go die." Bai Dao slowly raised the heaven-quaking sword, before swinging it down with lightning speed. Boom! With a great sound from the center of Hellfire City, the greatest clan in the city was wiped out in an instant. No one was left alive, suffering a fate similar to the Bai family all those years ago. The luxurious manor was reduced to ruins. The destruction of the Bloodcloud clan shook the entire city very soon, astounding everyone. Countless people went to see exactly what was happening. Bai Dao stood in the ruins of the clan with his arms crossed as he zoned out at the floor. His eyes were dull and filled with reminiscence, as if he was trying as hard as he could to think back to all the times from before. The king armament was stabbed into a tough piece of rock by his side. It radiated with a great pressure, causing everyone in the surroundings to shiver in fear. No one dared to approach him, watching on from afar as sounds of discussions constantly rang out. A huge stone pillar stood behind Bai Dao, and on it was carved some large forceful words. "A descendant of the Bai family has returned with the beast fur. Come get it." A powerful clan that was equivalent to hermit clans had just been wiped out in an instant. It may not have been much on the continent where conflict never ended, but it caused a huge uproar in Hellfire City. A group of guards immediately hurried from the city lord's manor to where the clan was after they heard the news. However, they hid in the crowd as they watched from afar, unwilling to reveal their presences. They felt extremely frightened when they saw how the clan had been reduced to rubble. All the other large clans in the city arrived where there had been Bloodcloud clan as well. Without a single exception, all of them hid in the distance, fearfully staring at the black figure in the ruins. To all of them, the black figure seemed like a demon from hell. Bai Dao was that terrifying. The huge pillar in the ruins became the center of attention as well. When they saw the words carved on it, many people immediately guessed Bai Dao's identity. He was actually a member of the Bai family that had been wiped out 50 years ago. An old man in dragon robes and a crown sat in the study of the imperial palace in the Karl Empire as he read in interest. There was only him in the quiet study, but powerful presences erupted from the corners of the room from time to time. The old man was the emperor of the Karl Empire. He was not very powerful, but he possessed great authority. The way the Karl Empire was controlled differed from how the Holy Empire was controlled. On the surface, the Holy Empire seemed to be controlled by the imperial family, but true control was actually in the hands of the three great clans. The imperial family was just a puppet to the three clans. Even the position as emperor would be switched between members of the three clans. The Karl Empire, on the other hand, completely fell to the control of the imperial family. It was the same as the Felicity Empire. At this moment, the space around the emperor rippled slightly, and a man shrouded in a black cloak silently appeared. He passed on a letter in his hands politely and said, "Your Majesty, this is an urgent letter from Hellfire City." The emperor looked up before slowly putting down the book in his hand. He took the urgent letter and began to read it. A while later, he furrowed his brows. The Bloodcloud clan of Hellfire City has actually been wiped out, and even Yu Zixing is dead. Yu Zixing reached Saint Ruler in 500 years, and was highly likely of becoming a Saint King. Sigh. It really is a pity for such a genius to die before he could fully mature. The emperor folded up the letter, and then passed it back to the cloaked man. He said, "Go take this letter to Imperial Protector Mo Jian." "Yes, sir," the cloaked man politely replied, before disappearing with the letter. In the depths of the imperial palace, a white-robed, wrinkly, old man sat on a cushion with his eyes closed. He seemed extremely ordinary and possessed no eye-catching characteristics, other than the fact that his robes seemed to be rather expensive. Sir Imperial Protector, enshrouded one has come under orders from the Emperor to deliver this letter. Suddenly, a polite and somewhat emotionless voice rang out from outside. Come in. The old man called out without even opening his eyes. The door opened and the cloaked man entered with his head lowered. He walked in softly from outside and courageously passed the letter to the old man. The old man slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were profound like the vast night sky. He slowly raised his hand to accept the letter and began reading it. The next moment, his face abruptly changed. His nonchalant gaze turned into a glare in an instant. 2 streaks of light actually shot out of his eyes like blades. He was extremely terrifying, causing the space before him to tremble slightly. You Zixing's actually been slain in Hellfire City. How dare they, how dare they? Who dares to do something like this? To even kill a disciple of mine of Mo Jian? The old man became enraged and suddenly stood up from the cushion. The letter in his hand had turned to dust. I'd like to see just exactly who it is who dares to be so reckless and completely disregard any respect for me within the Karl Empire. The old man was completely pale. With a swing of his arm, a crack immediately formed in the space beside him, warping into a space gate. Taking a step, he vanished. Bai Dao stood in the ruins of the Bloodcloud clan like a sculpture. He did not move even after a very long time, while more and more people gathered in the surroundings, maintaining a distance of 1,000 meters from him. All of them pointed at the ruins of the clan and actively discussed the event. The Bai family of Hellfire City from 50 years ago, which had almost forgotten Bai people, slowly returned to all their memories as well. A descendant of the Bai family has returned with the beast fur. Come get it. Maybe the destruction of the Bai family had something to do with this beast fur. For the descendant of the Bai family to return in such a brazen fashion, he probably wants to lure out the culprit who devastated his family all those years ago, and then take revenge. But just what level of strength does this descendant possess? Even Yu Zixing, a saint ruler, wasn't his opponent. This is just too frightening. Discussions constantly rose from the crowd. Though, the words carved into the pillar behind Bai Dao had answered many of their questions. Suddenly, a colorful space gate appeared in the air about the ruins. Before the person who had created the space gate even emerged, a vast presence blanketed the surroundings, stretching out in a bold manner. It actually enveloped the entire city. Everyone in Hellfire City stopped what they were doing at that moment. They stared at the sky in shock. Many of them could not see the space gate high up in the air, but they could feel where the presence was coming from. Bai Dao finally began to faintly move in the ruins of the Bloodcloud clan. He slowly raised his head and glared at the space gate in the air. His expression did not change. However, Bai Dao's right eye flashed vigorously. Venerable Poison's word exasperated voice rang out in his head. A 5th heavenly layer Saint King. It's a 5th heavenly layer Saint King. Bai Dao, you brat. You've actually provoked a 5th heavenly layer Saint King. God damn it, if you don't want to live anymore, at least don't drag me to my death as well. Experts like these may have been nothing to me when I was at my peak, but my current condition. Sigh, you sure have made it disastrous for me now. Chapter 1075. The Saint King Emojin. 2 different kinds of light flickered in Bai Hai's eyes. He seemed to completely ignore Venerable Poison Sword's anger, and stared at the space gate in the air emotionlessly. His eye that remained normal revealed some sternness. The heaven-quaking sword erupted from the rock it had been stabbed into. It became coated in a thick layer of energy, shattering the rock. Oti then flew into Bai Dao's hand, as if it possessed a spirit. After blanketing the surroundings with a violent presence, a white-robed, wrinkly old man slowly emerged from the space gate. Immediately, an indomitable might began to radiate from him, deeply shocking everyone in the city. It was like the descent of a supreme lord. The old man looked down at everyone like a king lording over his citizens. His face was prideful and cold while his eyes shined with interest. He stared closely at Bai Dao, who stood in the ruins, and growled. Was it you who killed my disciple? Bai Dao did not fear him. He stared at the old man and emotionlessly asked, You must be Yu Zixing's master, the imperial protector of the Karl Empire, Mo Jian. Correct, that is me, Mo Jian coldly replied. Bai Dao's gaze remained icy. The land beneath me belongs to my Bai family. No one can take it. I'll kill whoever tries. Mo Jian furrowed his brows slightly with that. He seemed to stare at Bai Dao in disbelief. You're a member of the Bai family? The Bai family was a great clan that possessed a saint ruler in the past. So even Mo Jian had heard about the clan before. What he did not understand was when did an expert like this appear in the Bai family? Correct. Bai Dao's face remained the same as before. Mo Jian's face grew colder. Since you're a member of the Bai family, you're also someone of the Karl Empire. In other words, you're no outsider. However, you killed me disciple, so you have to give me an explanation for this. If you want an explanation, I'll give you one, growled Bai Dao. A vast battle intent immediately erupted from him, surging into the sky. It caused the wind and clouds to churn. The heaven-quaking sword in his hand also erupted with a shocking sword chi. Bai Dao, my strength is far from my peak right now. I can't let you waste it like this. Don't resist, I'll take over your body. This battle needs to be completed as soon as possible, or both of us will end up dead once all of my energy is expended. The venerable elder's voice rang in Bai Dao's head. Bai Dao said nothing and slowly lowered his head. At that moment, no one realized that the light in Bai Dao's left eye quickly vanished, becoming lifeless in the blink of an eye. Afterward, an odd light suddenly appeared in that left eye, flashing about. It was filled with an evil feeling. Now both of Bai Dao's eyes had become demonic, as if two will-o-wisps were dancing around inside. Unexpectedly, Bai Dao rose from the ground, shooting into the sky like a rocket. The heaven-quaking sword in his hand also erupted with a bright green light. It was a potent poison. Not only was Venerable Poison's word powerful, he was someone who frequently used poison. His poison was no less potent than newbie's venom. Mo Jian could not help but furrow his brows when he saw how resolutely Bai Dao behaved, ready to give it all into the battle. Although Yu Zixing was his disciple in name, their relationship as master and disciple did not exist at all. Mo Jian indeed was greatly angered when he heard about Yu Zixing's death, but that was mainly over the disrespect rather than the actual death. After all, his disciple had been killed in the territory of the Karl Empire. That was a provocation and insult in his eyes. Mo Jian originally thought that the person who killed Yu Zixing was a saint ruler, which is why he hurried over angrily. However, once he arrived above the city and discovered that the murderer was a saint king just like him, many of his thoughts of revenge disappeared. He could not offend a saint king over someone who did not even treat him as a master, especially due to the fact that the saint king was also a member of the Karl Empire and had only come to destroy the Bloodcloud clan. As a result, Mo Jian lost interest in pursuing this matter. Asking for an explanation from Bai Dao was just a way for him to set up a way out of the situation. He had never thought that not only would Bai Dao refuse to cooperate, he would even come at him threateningly, throwing him into a temporary dilemma. Heaven-quaking sword. Cloud piercer. Bai Dao had already struck out before Mo Jian could prepare himself. With a loud bellow, poisonous gas immediately surged out of the sword in his hands. The deep green light completely shrouded the sword, which was thrust out with a vast energy. The sword disappeared the moment it was thrust forward. It arrived before Mo Jian in an odd manner within the next moment, and the potent poison fused perfectly with the terrifying energy. It stabbed toward Mo Jian mercilessly. Mo Jian immediately turned solemn. He could clearly feel just how powerful this strike was, shocking him greatly. Only until that point did he suddenly realize that Bai Dao's presence alternated between strong and weak, but it was no weaker than himself. He could even feel mysteries of the world beyond the fifth heavenly layer of Saint King in the strike, which utterly astounded him. Without any hesitation, Mo Jian drew his saint weapon as fast as he could. His weapon was a huge one-handed sword that was the width of a palm, and as soon as it appeared, the vast quantities of energy within him surged into the sword. He stabbed out with all his might, making it collide with the heaven-quaking sword. Boom! With a deafening sound, The two terrifying energies wildly smashed into each other. They immediately caused the surrounding space to rupture, forming a black hole over 30 meters across. The surroundings violently shook. After the clash, the heaven-quaking sword turned around and returned to Bai Dao's hand. Imogen's body, on the other hand, shook violently, and his complexion immediately became rather ugly. He was not injured after blocking Bai Dao's attack, but he fell into a disadvantageous position. The potent poisonous gas also entered his body. He had rarely ever come across a poisonous gas like this, and it was extremely powerful. It forced him to use 50% of his power to suppress it. Bai Dao floated emotionlessly in the air with his sword, as the light in his eyes constantly flickered. He coldly said, "Is this enough of an explanation? If it's not enough, I can provide you with an even more satisfying one." Imogen stared at Bai Dao in shock. He paid close attention to Bai Dao's eyes. He could feel that the person before him was rather strange just from his instincts, but he could not tell exactly where this strangeness came from. Imogen inhaled deeply and slowly calmed himself down. After a moment of peace, he could not help but swallow his pride. Sir is also a member of the Karl Empire. It truly is worthy of celebration for another great expert to appear in my empire. My failure of a disciple was looking for it himself, for taking up your clan's territory. He deserved much more than death. Imogen gave in. In the clash earlier, he knew that he was definitely not Bai Dao's opponent. Gaining such a powerful enemy over someone who did not even act like a disciple was not a smart choice. Imogen paused slightly before continuing. Your strength is extraordinary, and you are also a member of the Karl Empire. If you are willing, you are welcome to take up the position as Imperial Protector at any time. With that, Imogen stuck around no longer and flew away. Wait, just who wiped out the Bai clan back then? Bai Dao coldly asked. Imogen froze and glanced at the huge pillar in the ruins. He said, I spent most of my time in seclusion within the palace, so it has already been several hundred years since I last meddled with worldly affairs. If you want to find your enemy, you are welcome to come find the Emperor in the palace. I believe His Majesty will be very willing to assist you. Imogen left hurriedly through a space gate. Bai Dao also descended from the sky, returning to the ruins. The flickering light in his eyes also slowly calmed down, until all that was left was a sharp gaze. Brat, stay a little more composed for me in the future. Just that exhausted 20% of my power. If it weren't for my foresight to use supreme strength to deter that person right from the get-go, we'd probably still be fighting right now. If we get stuck in a battle of endurance, we would lose for sure. Venerable Poison Sword's angry voice rang through Bai Dao's head. Bai Dao did not respond. He focused his attention on his dantian. In there was a thumb-sized pearl that floated quietly. It was completely composed of energy, extremely terrifying energy. The pearl was the Venerable's power. It had been sealed through a special method, and the Venerable could use it at his will while Bai Dao could only use a tiny portion of it. Once all the power was exhausted, it would be extremely difficult to recover. The power sealed within was indeed 20% less than before. Bai Dao did not go to the imperial palace of the Karl Empire. He waited there silently in the ruins. He had a feeling that those people would definitely come. In the blink of an eye, night had already descended, blotting the entire world with darkness. In an extremely desolate region of the continent, a huge jet-black divine hall silently stood in a mountain range. It radiated with a chilling aura. It seemed like a place where demons lived, enough to make people shiver in fear. Reporting to the Yama, a descendant of the Bai family has appeared in Hellfire City of the Karl Empire. He has carved the fact that he had returned with the beast fur into a stone pillar. What should we do, Yama? A vague, evil-sounding voice sounded in the dark palace. What? A person of the Bai family has returned to Hellfire City with the beast fur? Is that true? A husky voice rang out from the pitch-black hall. It sounded like the shrieks of ghosts. It is completely true. However, he seems to be very powerful. He fought off an imperial protector of the empire without suffering defeat. A member of the Bai family has returned to Hellfire City with the beast fur. Looks like he knows the destruction of his clan 50 years ago was caused by the beast fur. However, we have to obtain the beast fur now that it has appeared once again. It doesn't matter just how powerful that person is. He can't stop us. Send the orders to summon the 10 Protector Kings to accompany me to Hellfire City. Chapter 1076. Trapped in the Yama Hall. 1. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed since the Bloodcloud clan had been wiped out in Hellfire City. During those 7 days, news regarding the event swept through Karl Empire like a storm. Since the person who had wiped them out in less than 10 minutes was a member of the Bai family, that news became the biggest drawing point. Afterward, various rumors appeared regarding the descendant of the Bai family, as well as the destruction of the Bai family 50 years ago. They crazily spread across the Karl Empire. The imperial family of the Karl Empire did not respond in regards to how the Bloodcloud family was wiped out. Ever since their imperial protector Mo Jian had come back several days ago, they did nothing, indicating that they did not wish to interfere with Bai Dao's matters. After all, Bai Dao was also a member of the empire, and he was a saint king. He was an existence that the imperial family wished to pull over. So why would they take offense over the death of a saint ruler? During those 7 days, Bai Dao stood unmoving in the ruins of the Bloodcloud clan. He did not even take a single step from that place. The heaven-quaking sword remained stabbed into the ground beside him. Its luster was gone, and it seemed extremely ordinary, but the pressure it possesses still existed. It slowly pervaded the surroundings, no longer making them seem so ordinary. A large crowd of people remained in the surroundings of the ruins, watching on from afar. During those few days, people had come and left. There were even a great group of people who had come from several thousand kilometers away, just to see the awe of a saint king. Very soon, darkness descended on the earth once more. The bustling city gradually began to quieten down, and the people in the surroundings all slowly dispersed. Only Bai Dao remained where he was, disregarding any fatigue. Bai Dao could not help but think of everything that had once happened right now. Countless faces of the Bai family flashed through his head one by one, and his cold gaze gained some gentleness. So many years have passed. I wonder how Xiangtian is right now. He's the only descendant left of my Bai family. I hope he can survive. Sister, once I take revenge for the destruction of the clan, I'll go hunt down the people who murdered you. Even if I have to search to the ends of the earth, I will find them, and use their blood to hold a ceremony to remember you. Sister, rest well. Your brother won't let you die for nothing. Bai Dao was filled with deep sorrow. When the Bai family had been wiped out all those years ago, only he and his sister survived. Now that Bai Yuntian was dead, all that was left in the family was him. Suddenly, loneliness began to pour out of Bai Dao's heart. He felt so lonely at the moment, as if he was the only one left from the glorious Bai family all those years ago. He had always remained in the soul-claiming mountains in recent years, having only left a few days ago. He had not learned about the major events occurring across the Tianyuan continent. He still had no idea that his sister had been revived by Jian Shen, while his nephew was no longer a mere saint ruler, now a great saint king. Suddenly, a cold breeze gently blew past him. The surrounding sounds seemed to vanish in that instant, and the city seemed to become a haunted place of deathly silence. Bai Dao's head immediately cleaned up, and he dismissed his random thoughts. He slowly raised his head and looked around emotionlessly. 10 figures had appeared in the surroundings silently at some time. They seemed to have fused with the darkness. Although they stood there out in the open, it was extremely easy for people to miss them, making it very difficult to sense them. The 10 figures stood there silently like that. No one said anything, nor did any presences leak out, causing the atmosphere to become rather odd. Burning killing intent immediately appeared in Bai Dao's eyes. When he looked at the 10 people surrounding him, he could clearly remember that when the Bai family was devastated several dozen years ago, it was done by a group of people in similar attire. You finally come. I've waited here for you for several days already. Bai Dao's voice was extremely icy, as killing intent radiated from him without restraint. He slowly drew the heaven-quaking sword from the ground, adding a vast pressure to his killing intent. The 10 people said nothing, But some greed appeared in their cold gazes, once they all laid their eyes on the sword in Bai Dao's hand. Speak, who are you? What organization do you belong to? Bai Dao continued after not hearing the people respond. The 10 people stood there silently, as if they were a part of the darkness. No one replied to Bai Dao's questions. No wonder we couldn't find any beast fur when we wiped out the Bai family back then. So it's actually been taken away when a survivor of the family fled. At this moment, a husky voice rang out from nowhere. It was impossible to discern its origins. One of Bai Dao's eyes began to violently flicker. He stared fixedly at the space before him. A black figure gradually appeared in the empty darkness. It seemed so odd. Just who are you? Bai Dao stared at the figure. Just from instinct, he could tell that the person before him was the leader of the rest. Survivor of the Bai family. Hand over the beast fur if you want to know who I am, sneered the black figure. Killing intent surged in Bai Dao's eyes. He coldly said, if you want the beast fur, then take it from me, but you might not have the abilities with just the 11 of you. With that, the heaven-quaking sword in Bai Dao's hand began to shine with dazzling green light. The potent poison fused perfectly with the terrifying energy erupting from the sword. Swish! Bai Dao stabbed out with the sword, directly targeting the head of the leading figure. You really are a saint king, the black-clothed man involuntarily called out with his hoarse voice. His gaze immediately became stern, and with a flip of his hand, an exquisite black dagger appeared. It was only palm-sized, but it emitted a dense black glow. A cold light could vaguely be seen flickering on it through the dark glow. Kiss of the venomous scorpion. The figure called out, and the dagger immediately shot out as a blur. With a violent boom, the dagger collided with the heaven-quaking sword. The sound erupted in the desolate night, alarming the entire city. Countless people woke up from their sleep and lit candles, flooding the city with light in just a few seconds. Bai Dao and the man were evenly matched in the clash. Survivor of the Bai family, you really are very strong, but you can't keep the beast fur. Why don't you hand it over obediently, and I'll spare your life? Otherwise, today next year will be when people visit your grave, sneered the man. Bai Dao said nothing. He wielded the heaven-quaking sword in his right hand while the venerable elder's voice rang out in his head. Brat! You won't be able to beat him even if you use up all of my energy. Let me deal with him. The light in Bai Dao's eyes became odd once more. He relinquished control over his body, handing it over to the venerable poison's word once again. As soon as the venerable took over, an indescribably vast presence immediately began to radiate from him. He seemed to fuse with the surroundings, as if he had turned into the world in that moment. Even a mere saint king of the 4th heavenly layer dares to be so arrogant? Die! Venerable Poison's word sneered in disdain after gaining control. He slowly raised the heaven-quaking sword and stabbed out. Not only did the strike contain a great energy and potent poison, it possessed the profound mysteries of the world. Not only did a strike from Venerable Poison's word contain much more energy than the one from Bai Dao, its might was multiplied several times over. Phantom's flurry. The man's gaze became even sterner. Crying out, the dagger in his hand began to wildly dance about, forming a string of afterimages that filled the space before him. All of the afterimages forcefully shot out. However, the afterimages that struck the heaven-quaking sword all vanished with a bang. The sword seemed like an invincible sword, advancing like a hot knife through butter. It arrived before the man in an instant and impaled his chest. The man roared out and immediately shot back. He separated from the sword and bellowed out, "Slaughter of the 10 kings!" The gazes of the 10 darkly clothed men in the surroundings all changed. Vast presences erupted from every single one of them, and they knit together in the middle of the air to form an even greater presence. Afterward, the 10 of them drew their saint weapons at the same time, sending a powerful sword chi into the air simultaneously. The 10 darkness-attributed sword chis weaved together in the air and rapidly formed the face of a demon. It charged toward Bai Dao, who was below. Bai Dao could not help but sneer in even more disdain. He mocked. An attack through a secret from the fusion of 10 ninth heavenly layer saint rulers is only as powerful as a saint king of the 2nd heavenly layer. Is this all you have? As he said that, he casually stabbed at the sky and a powerful sword chi shot out, destroying the demon face. "Let's go." The man with the dagger did not stick around. Shouting out, he immediately turned into a black figure, shooting off into the distance. The 10th heavenly layer saint rulers did not hesitate either, silently fleeing into the distance. "Where do you think you're going? Stay right here." Bai Dao regained control of his body and pursued them with bloodshot eyes. He had found the people who had wiped out the Bai family all those years ago after great effort. So how could he let them escape so easily? Chapter 1077. Trapped in the Yama Hall. 2. Bai Dao chased the 11 black-clothed men, leaving Hellfire City very quickly. Although they had only clashed twice in the city, the disturbance was undoubtedly great. Everyone in the city was alerted. There were even quite a few Heaven Saint Masters, who quickly flew over to where the Bloodcloud clan had been, wishing to witness a battle between experts to assist them with their future cultivation. However, they were fated to see nothing. When they arrived at the ruins of the Bloodcloud clan, no one was present. Even the descendant of the Bai clan, who had always remained there, was gone. For some time, the fighting that rang through the city along with the disappearance of the Bai family descendant sent clouds of suspicion into the minds of the citizens of the city. The occurrences also lead to the proliferation of various rumors. The descendant of the Bai family killed Imperial Protector Emojian's disciple. The Imperial Protector has gathered his friends to capture him. The descendant of the Bai family has aggravated a great expert by wiping out the Bloodcloud clan and has been taken away. It's probably because the Bai family descendant has gained the attention of some expert of the continent through the beast fur, leading to another intense conflict. He cannot win, so he has already fled. I think it's extremely likely that the people who wiped out the Bai family all those years ago have appeared again. After fighting, they realized they weren't his enemy, so they fled. The descendant pursed them. The descendant of the Bai family is so strong that even Imperial Protector Emojian could do nothing to him. I don't think there's anyone on the continent who would want to provoke him. I think it's because his enemies have appeared. Various rumors filled every inch of the city. The matter had already gained the attention of everyone in the city, but no one knew the truth. All they could do was guess. Outside Hellfire City, Bai Dao pursued the 11 people in a threatening manner as wild gusts of wind blew past him. He was so fast that he seemed to have become a faint blur. Before him, the 10th heavenly layer saint rulers seemed to have fused together. They used a special secret technique to merge all their powers, maintaining a distance from Bai Dao throughout the pursuit. Every time Bai Dao was about to catch up to them, their speed would skyrocket and widen the distance between then and an instant. Very soon, Bai Dao had already pursued them at full speed for one whole day and night. They moved extremely quickly, traversing several 100,000 kilometers in just a day. "Brat, this doesn't look right. They seem to be intentionally drawing you in with how they're acting. Be a little careful." Venerable Poison Sword's voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. "Don't worry, I'm not an idiot. I know exactly what I should be doing," Bai Dao coldly replied. Now that his enemies were right before him, his killing intent boiled inside. He knew that he could finally return the debt of blood from 50 years ago. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Bai Dao had already traveled more than 1,000,000 kilometers as he pursued the group of people. It was late, and thick clouds blanketed the sky, completely obscuring the light of the moon. Thus the night was extremely dark, so dark that vision was severely limited. After chasing them for 4 days, Bai Dao continued to tail them with no intention of giving up. His gaze was extremely determined as he thought. The people who devastated my Bai family are much stronger than I had imagined. They actually have a Saint King and 10th heavenly layer saint rulers. If I want to take revenge, I need to borrow Venerable Poison Sword's power. It'll be impossible otherwise with my talent. The Venerable Elder's soul shares my body. I do know that you are rapidly growing accustomed to my body, and once you have completely adapted, you'll probably forcefully take over my body and devour my soul. At that time, it doesn't matter if I've successfully taken revenge. The outcome will all be the same, so why shouldn't I use everything I have? It's not like my life belongs to me anymore. Bai Dao continued to chase down the 11 people, without any fear with a mindset like that. Nothing could stop his advance, not even immense danger, because he knew that it would be the venerable elder's problem if he came across great dangers, not his own. Right now all Bai Dao thought about was revenge. The 11 people entered a desolate mountain range with Bai Dao. They quickly made their way through the dark mountains, before fleeing into a pitch-black palace. Bai Dao saw the giant palace, but he did not hesitate at all. He continued into the palace without slowing down at all. "Brat, stop. Don't go in there, it's a trap." The venerable elder's panic-stricken voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. The light in Bai Dao's eyes also fluctuated in brightness, as the venerable elder attempted to forcefully take control. Venerable Poison's word, "The strongest of my enemies is only at the 4th heavenly layer of Saint King. They pose no threat to you, and this is their lair. I will completely flip the lair upside down and turn it into a river of blood and corpses." Bai Dao roared out inside. His flickering eyes quickly stabilized, replaced by a cold determination. The body belonged to Bai Dao after all. Bai Dao successfully suppressed Venerable Poison Sword's attempt to steal his body. "Bastard! Bai Dao, you brat! Don't be carried away by your hatred. Return to your senses. Stop, it's a trap inside. Don't go in. If you want to die, just don't drag me to my death as well." The venerable elder was utterly exasperated as he roared out. Bai Dao completely ignored what he said, entering the palace in the form of a black blur. As soon as he made his way in, the main entrance immediately slammed shut. It was pitch black inside, where nothing could be seen. Suddenly, a scorching presence surged in. The temperature of the palace began to skyrocket, and black flames appeared on the ground. It formed an odd formation trapping Bai Dao. "God damn it! This is a formation, brat. You've been trapped in the formation." The venerable swore angrily as his hatred for Bai Dao seeped into his bones. "Ha ha 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 ha! Survivor of the Bai family. Welcome to the Yama Hall of the 3 great assassination organizations of the continent. You are our first guest in the past 1,000 years, so please enjoy the scenery of our hall." A horrible voice appeared out of nowhere. It sounded like the sobs of a ghost, while its laughter seemed extremely sinister. "God damn it. It's actually the Yama Hall of the 3 famed assassination organizations of the continent. I've been trapped by them. Bai Dao, you brat, you sure have brought disaster to me." The venerable elder wailed powerlessly. If he was at his peak, he could try adventuring into the Yama Hall. But he was nowhere as powerful as he had been before in his current form as a soul. There was almost no hope for him to escape after being trapped here. So what about the Yama Hall? Venerable Poison's word. You were a person who once stood at the apex of the continent. You didn't even fear the 10 protector clans. So how can a mere assassination organization stop you? I'll let you take control of my body and take revenge for me, Bai Dao said to the venerable elder. He could not help but think of his sister, and he sighed inside. "Sister, I'm useless. I might not be able to take revenge for you. Brat, is there still any use if you let me gain control of your body? The Yama Hall is infamous. It has stood on the continent for over 100,000 years, so how can they be easily dealt with? Especially with how you intentionally entered their lair. Why? You drive me crazy," Venerable Poison's word swore as he took control of Bai Dao's body. Wielding the heaven-quaking sword in his right hand, he sternly stared at the surging black flames surrounding him. Heaven-quaking sword, heaven cleaver. Suddenly, he roared out, and the sword immediately erupted with surging energy. With the sword raised up high, he stabbed at the ceiling of the palace. With a loud boom, the entire structure began to violently tremble. However, his devastating strike did nothing to the palace. Not even a crack had appeared. Ha 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 ha. You still want to break out of this divine hall? I'd suggest you give up on that thought. This divine hall was created by a saint emperor. So unless you can deal a strike as powerful as a saint emperor, you can't break through it. The sinister laughter rang out from the dark room once more. What? It's a divine hall? Venerable Poison's word became ashen from the great shock. He lost all hope while his resentment for Bai Dao reached a limit. He was tempted to rip Bai Dao into pieces and eat him alive. A person wrapped in black robes sat on a throne in a hall at the very top of the structure. Below him sat 10 black-clothed people in 2 rows dressed in the exact same fashion as him. Yama, the survivor of the Bai family, has been trapped in the divine hall now. Should we kill him right now and take the beast's fur from him? A person below asked. His voice was icy cold and completely emotionless. The person on the throne was the Saint King, who fought against Bai Dao with a dagger in Hellfire City and was repelled by Venerable Poison's word. He was one of the people who held the greatest power in the Yama Hall. The 10 people below him were the 10 protector kings of the Yama Hall, only standing below the Yama in status. There's no need to hurry. The survivor of the Bai family is very strong. He's at least at the 6th heavenly layer. So even though I can kill him, it'll cost me quite a lot of effort. It's not worth it. Since he has been trapped in the divine hall, he can't escape. It's a pity that the primary control of the divine hall is still in the hands of the former Yama. I can only use a small part of the divine hall's power, so I can't activate all the formations of the divine hall. Otherwise, would there still be a need for me to personally kill him? Just the power of the divine hall would be enough. The former Yama's been heavily injured and has been in seclusion for 1,000 years already. I think he should have roughly recovered after 1,000 years. So let's wait for the former Yama to execute him. The Yama had no other choice. In the battle 1,000 years ago against the Bloodsword sect, their organization was heavily damaged. They lost many experts and had yet to fully recover even now. Although they could kill Bai Dao right now, it would exhaust many experts, which was something they did not want to risk. All they could do was leave Bai Dao and the Venerable Poison's word alive, leaving them trapped within the divine hall. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.